Chapter 947. Master? Lan Yu looked up into the sky. What she saw was a familiar white-robed figure descending from the sky. His expression was cold and his eyes were as cold as ice. Only when he looked at her did he reveal a hint of tenderness. That tenderness melted Lan Yu's heart. She felt that all the suffering she had gone through was worth it. Chu Kuangren came to Lan Yu's side and looked at her injuries with a pained expression. He immediately channeled his emperor's qi to condense water qi into her body to heal her injuries. He did not know why Lan Yu was here. He did not ask her either. Leave the rest to me. Chu Kuangren took a deep breath and said, "All right." Lan Yu nodded. She had many things to tell Chu Kuangren, but now was not the time to reminisce. How dare you meddle in the affairs of the Divine Flame Church? The young lord of the Beast Hunter planet said coldly. Now, he considered himself a member of the Divine Flame Church. When Chu Kuangren heard that, his eyes turned cold and his murderous intent poured out. Be ****. How do you want to die? The young lord's expression darkened. How dare you ignore the Divine Flame Church? You're the one who has a death wish. He called out to the beasts around him that were under his control to attack Chu Kuangren. He wanted to use these beasts to test Chu Kuangren's strength. Oh, the Beast Hunter planet. You've even joined the Divine Flame Church. What a small world indeed. The murderous intent in Chu Kuangren's eyes intensified. He gently raised his hand. Instantly, numerous purple lotuses appeared in the surroundings. The purple lotuses soared into the sky, looking incomparably beautiful. Then they landed on the bodies of the demonic beasts. In an instant, the purple lotuses exploded into sword qi. In the blink of an eye, the beasts were reduced to a pile of broken limbs. In an instant, the surroundings seemed to have turned into purgatory. The young lord's eyes narrowed. This sword qi is definitely not from an ordinary celestial seed cultivator. Who are you? I've decided. Chu Kuangren did not answer him. Instead, he said, Your death shall be death by 1,000 cuts. As soon as he finished, the purple lotuses soared into the sky and surrounded the young lord. The purple lotuses dispersed and countless petals fell. Each petal was a beam of sword qi. The sword qi danced in the air, raging as it landed on the young master of beast hunting star. Each sword qi took away a chunk of flesh. Damn it. Get lost. The young master of beast hunting star looked terrified. He crazily activated the emperor's qi and intertwined with the Tao patterns, turning into ferocious beasts that continuously collided with the lotus sword qi. But it was useless. The 1,000 lotus sword intent was unbreakable. With Chu Kuangren's current strength, not even 10 celestial seed magnates could break through it. The purple lotus bloomed, turning into petals that filled the sky. This scene was absolutely beautiful. The flower petals transformed into sword qi, tearing apart the body of the almost crazed beast hunting planet young master. Flesh and blood were torn apart. This scene was extremely savage. Beautiful and savage. They weaved together to form a bizarre scene of slaughter. The surrounding cultivators were dumbfounded. Outsider, don't be presumptuous here. At that moment, the middle-aged commander of the city defense army said loudly, This person is a divine flame sect of Enlightenment's trainee divine child, a guest of Heaven Luo City. If you don't stop now, you won't be able to leave Heaven Luo City. I almost forgot, there's still you guys. Chu Kuangren looked at the city defense army. He clearly saw that these people had helped the young master of beast hunting star to seal off Lan Yu's escape route. What are you trying to do? The middle-aged commander's eyes narrowed. An inexplicable sense of terror enveloped him. Chu Kuangren waved his sleeves, and one by one, purple lotuses bloomed and enveloped the city defense army. In an instant, it was a scene of slaughter. As the sword qi flowed, flesh and blood flew everywhere. That's the 1,000 lotus sword intent. This person is the recently famous celestial seed king, Chu Kuangren. Someone recognized Chu Kuangren. At that moment, screams could be heard everywhere. Celestial seed kings were rare. Not to mention Chu Kuangren, an outsider celestial seed king. When Sword Crown, Little Fox, and Qing Feng arrived at the scene, The city defense army was already dead, and blood was everywhere. As for the young master of beast hunting star, it was even more tragic. Almost all that was left of him was a skeleton. However, his aura was not completely gone. Sword Crown could not help but gulp at such an extreme torture. The Thousand Lotus Sword intent can be used like this. Little Fox was stunned too. This is the first time I've seen you so angry. Is it because of that woman? Qing Feng looked at Lan Yu, who was beside Chu Kuangren. Even with her extraordinary beauty, she could not help but be stunned. That kind of holy aura was indeed very attractive. That person must be very important to you, boss. Little Fox murmured. Chu Kuangren casually blasted out a palm attack, and the young master of beast hunting star, who had already been reduced to a skeleton, instantly turned into dust. Then he looked in the direction of the city hall. There, a few rays of light flew over, and a terrifying aura enveloped the area, completely locking onto Chu Kuangren. Those people were a few young men. There was also an old man in a luxurious robe. It's the Celestial Seed rulers from the Divine Flame Church and the Sky Luo City Lord. As expected, once Chu Kuangren appeared, they couldn't sit still anymore. Tisk tisk, this is going to be a good show. Jingguan came to Chu Kuangren's side and shook his head with a bitter smile. He should have thought of this a long time ago. As long as they did not do anything too out of line, no one would notice them. However, with Chu Kuangren's personality, how could that be possible? He felt that Chu Kuangren was a troublemaker. No matter where he went, trouble would definitely come looking for him. Chu Kuangren, I didn't expect you to show up in Sky Luo City in broad daylight and kill the Divine Flame Church's Divine Disciple candidate. The Sky Luo City Lord said coldly. This world is big, where can I go? Why should I hide in a small Sky Luo City? As for the Divine Flame Church's Divine Disciple candidate, he's just an insignificant person. So what if I kill him? Chu Kuangren said calmly. You, how dare you? Beside the Sky Luo City Lord, a Divine Flame Church's Divine Disciple snorted coldly with a cold, murderous intent in his eyes. As he lifted his arm, a crimson flame suddenly appeared, and the flames between the heavens and earth converged to form a giant flaming fist. Chu Kuangren stood still, allowing the majestic flames to invade his body. The next moment, a golden red flame flashed on his body. The phoenix flame exploded. The incomparably ferocious phoenix flame swept across and engulfed the Divine Disciple's flames in an instant, engulfing him in an even more violent manner. That Divine Disciple only had time to let out a scream before his body was burned into a piece of charcoal. He could not fight back at all. There's actually a human who can use the phoenix flame. Qing Feng was dumbfounded as he watched from behind. What? This person's phoenix flame is so terrifying. I guess only the Divine Flame can be compared to him. The Divine Flame Church's Divine Disciples' expressions changed slightly. Beside them, the Sky Luo City Lord's expression was extremely solemn as well. Chu Kuangren, you're here to explore the immortal ancient battlefield, right? If that's the case, don't cause any more trouble. Please behave yourself. Everyone was surprised. After witnessing Chu Kuangren's strength, these people admitted defeat. Chapter 948. Obedient. Chu Kuangren could not help but chuckle. At first, I really didn't want to cause any trouble. After all, it's really boring to find trouble with a bunch of repulsive people like you every day. But since you guys don't give me the chance to do so and keep coming at me, don't blame me for what happens next. He spoke slowly, word for word like ice, and his extremely cold, killing intent enveloped the surroundings, causing others to tremble with fear. He was really angry. Just a little more. If he had arrived any later, Lan Yu would have died. What do you want? The Sky Luo City Lord said. At the same time, he had already secretly mobilized the troops in Sky Luo City to gather here. After sensing Chu Kuangren's murderous intent, he knew that there would be a tough battle today. Kill! Without another word, Chu Kuangren raised his arm and activated his phoenix flames. The terrifying flames then blasted towards the few Divine Flame School of Enlightenment God's disciples. The few divine sons hurriedly dodged. That phoenix flame terrified them. Since that's the case, I'll fight it out with you. Heaven Luo City Lord said coldly. He took out a long saber, which was a top-notch heavenly Dao artifact. With a slash, a brutal and domineering saber light covered the sky and earth. Naturally, the divine flame sect's divine children would not just sit around and wait for their deaths. One by one, they channeled their flames and unleashed all sorts of powerful immortal techniques towards Chu Kuangren. The power of a void immortal, the immortal technique of a celestial seed giant, all kinds of powerful forces shook the void. Chu Kuangren's gaze was cold. With a lift of his arm, several surges of origin energy erupted, and the phoenix flame in his palm rose, illuminating the void. Courting death. The phoenix fire engulfed all sorts of energies, and the incomparably violent fire waves sent a few gods and the Tianluo City Lord flying. Thousand Lotus Sword intent. Chu Kuangren raised his hand again. The origin of sword erupted. Purple lotuses appeared in the air. The most beautiful lotus blossomed with the purest sword chi, wreaking havoc in the void like a storm of sword chi sweeping across the entire area. Wherever the sword chi passed, 2 divine princes died. Not long after, a large number of city guards rushed over from all directions and surrounded Chu Kuangren and his group. Execute them on the spot. The Tianluo City Lord said coldly. As for the other cultivators on the street, they had already run away. Chu Kuangren stood where he was and looked at the soldiers who were charging towards him. He said coldly, "Are you sending your minions here to die?" With a flick of his sleeve, phoenix fire surged out. Not long after, tens of thousands of soldiers were reduced to ashes. The floating purple lotus transformed into sword chi and swept across. Wherever it went, blood splattered everywhere, leaving only severed limbs on the ground. Chu Kuangren had unleashed his phoenix flames and sword chi to the fullest. The cultivators present couldn't even get close to him. The spectators all exclaimed in surprise. This is too terrifying. This kind of battle prowess is definitely at the level of an immortal seed king. In fact, I feel that he's already on the path to immortality. This is the first time I've seen such a terrifying foreign immortal seed. The sounds of battle rang out incessantly. In just a short while, the streets were filled with countless severed limbs and charred corpses. The divine princes of the divine Fire Ming clan were all dead. The Heaven Luo City Lord would not be able to escape this calamity. In the end, the entire Heaven Luo City fell silent. Until no one dared to attack Chu Kuangren anymore, the battle slowly subsided. Amidst the mountains of corpses and seas of blood, Chu Kuangren's white robe was still as clean as ever, untainted by even a speck of dust. However, everyone could not help but feel a chill in their hearts. "Let's go," Chu Kuangren said to Lan Yu and the others beside him. The few of them left. However, everyone knew that this massacre was just the beginning. The divine Fire Ming clan had lost a few divine princes, and the sage capital had lost a city lord. Chu Kuangren had completely offended these 2 great forces. They would never let Chu Kuangren go. In an inn in Heaven Luo City, Chu Kuangren was treating Lan Yu's injuries. With his current medical skills, he could even heal immortals' injuries, let alone Lan Yu's. The only problem was the burning of one's life energy. It was difficult to recover one's life energy that had been burned. Lan Yu had used up at least half of her life energy in that battle. This made Chu Kuangren feel both heartache and anger at the same time. Divine Flame Church of Light, I will not let this matter rest so easily. A murderous intent flashed in Chu Kuangren's eyes. Since the Beast Hunter planet's young master was the divine Fire Ming clan's divine son in waiting, he would naturally blame this on them. "Master, don't worry. It's just some life energy. When your cultivation level improves in the future, it will naturally recover." Lan Yu comforted him. "It won't be that easy. Burning your life energy is equivalent to burning your potential. I'm afraid it won't be that easy for your cultivation level to improve anymore," Chu Kuangren said with a pained expression. Not everyone had an immortal body like him. Beside him, Little Fox, Xing Feng, and Jingguan saw the pained look in Chu Kuangren's eyes and realized how important this silver-haired lady was to him. Could she be Master's confidant? Jingguan thought to himself. The more he thought about it, the more likely it seemed. So, he already has a confidant. A hint of sadness flashed across Qing Feng's eyes. F*** me, a big shot's confidant. No, I must build a good relationship with her. Little Fox, on the other hand, was thinking of befriending Lan Yu. Chu Kuangren was not interested in what the two beasts were thinking. All he wanted to know was what Lan Yu had experienced. Soon, Lan Yu told him everything. It turned out that after the Shattered Immortal Realm appeared, Lan Yu, Chu Hong, and Yen Honghua left Firmament Star together to explore the world. However, before they could enter the Shattered Immortal Realm, they encountered the people from the Beast Hunter planet. They wanted to capture Lan Yu and Chu Hong, but with a few life-saving items, the three ladies managed to fight their way out. However, they were separated because of that. Not long after Lan Yu entered the Shattered Immortal Realm, she heard about Chu Kuangren's rampage in ancient Sparrow City and his killing of the Sacred City Enforcer. I knew it had to be the young master, so I thought that the immortal ancient battlefield would most likely bring the young master here. I didn't expect to encounter the people from the Beast Hunter planet again. I'm no match for them, so I took a gamble and burned my life energy to release my energy. I hope you can sense it, master. Lan Yu said slowly. You did well. I did sense it. Chu Kuangren was a little scared. If he was a little further away, or if Lan Yu did not think of releasing her energy to ask for help, the consequences would be unimaginable. Let's rest here for a few days before entering the immortal ancient battlefield. Maybe we can find some life-restoring treasures there. Chu Kuangren said. A few days later, Chu Kuangren and the others left Heaven Luo City and entered the immortal ancient battlefield. Not long after they left, the Sacred City Enforcer and the rest of the Divine Flame Church's deities also arrived at Heaven Luo City. When they found out what Chu Kuangren had done, these people's faces turned extremely gloomy. They were determined to kill Chu Kuangren. Killing 2 city lords in a row, this Chu Kuangren. He's determined to fight the Sacred City to the death. Wu Wuji, the personal disciple of the Sacred City and one of the 12 Sage Seed Kings, said coldly. And the Divine Flame Church's deities too. If I meet him, I'll let him experience the pain of being burned by the Divine Flame. Chapter 949. Broken weapons, desolate scenes, and human corpses could be seen everywhere. The howling of the wind seemed to be mixed with the howling of vengeful spirits. The place where immortals and deities had fallen was the immortal ancient battlefield. Gray mist could be seen everywhere in the immortal ancient battlefield. It was a condensed form of resentment chi. Ordinary cultivators who entered this place would be affected by the resentment chi. Without a certain level of cultivation, they would not be able to stay here for too long. Somewhere in the immortal ancient battlefield, Chu Kuangren was walking on the battlefield with Lan Yu and the others. What a dilapidated scene. Sword Crown shook his head and lamented. He lifted his arm and easily isolated the surrounding resentment chi. After several treatments, his internal injuries had mostly healed, and he could now use about 60 to 70% of his strength. The rest did not require Chu Kuangren to treat, as he could slowly recover on his own. It would not be long before Sword Crown returned to his peak. Chu Kuangren would also have an immortal follower. Even if you were an immortal when you were alive, you're just a pile of dirt in death. Chu Kuangren looked at the corpses on the ground and said, these corpses still had a faint immortal glow, but it had been too long. Even if they were immortal corpses, they would turn into ashes with just a touch. Only extremely powerful immortals could preserve their bodies after death, and they could even preserve their energy for an entire era. However, such immortals were too rare. Even in the ancient immortal realm, there were probably not many of them. Whoosh, whoosh, several rays of light flew past Chu Kuangren's head. Which direction is it this time? Did something happen? Chu Kuangren decided to bring some people over to take a look. Soon, he brought his men to a place where a crowd had gathered. These people were gathered together and seemed to be discussing something. There are quite a lot of people here to attack the Wailing Ghost Ridge. That's right. I heard that there are countless vengeful spirits in the Wailing Ghost Ridge. Hundreds of immortals once fought there, so there must be a lot of treasures left behind. If we can break through, we'll definitely gain a lot. I heard that this time, It was led by Saber Monarch Sword Burial and Little Sage Monk Huefa of the Golden Mountain Temple. These are two young kings of the Azure Orchid Immortal world. With them, our chances of success are very high. Chu Kuangren also heard the crowd's discussion and had an idea. Sword Burial, and the Golden Hill Temple's Little Sage Monk Huefa is second of the 12 kings of the immortal world. Chu Kuangren's interest was piqued. It was towards the Crying Ghost Ridge, and also towards the Celestial Seed King. Boom! At that moment, a giant saber shadow swept across the sky from afar. The saber shadow was intertwined with Dao patterns, emanating an extremely overbearing aura. With a slash, the ground split into two. After the saber shadow dissipated, a figure appeared. It was a young man who looked to be in his 30s. The young man wore a green robe and had a sturdy figure. His sharp, eagle-like eyes swept through everyone present, causing them to be unable to help but feel fearful. What was even more noteworthy was that the young man carried a heavy black saber on his back. The saber wasn't unsheathed, but there was a faint immortal radiance circulating around it. It's the Sword Burial Sea Saber Monarch. He's here. Look, the saber on his back is rumored to be forged from Black Crow Immortal Gold. It is one of the 3 famed sabers of the Burial Sword Sea. Even a heavenly Dao artifact would not be able to withstand a single blow from it. It is said that this blade has the potential to become an immortal artifact. Everyone looked at the Saber King in shock. Chu Kuangren took a few more glances and activated the spirit of omniscience. After analyzing the information, he lost interest. This is the Sword Burial Sea Saber Monarch? King of Immortal Seeds? That's all. At this moment, a golden Buddhist light shone in the distance. Under this Buddhist light, the resentment in the surroundings rapidly melted like snow meeting the blazing sun. A white-robed monk slowly walked out from the Buddhist light. The monk held a string of Buddhist beads in his hand. He had a handsome face and a faintly discernible smile on the corner of his mouth, giving off a good impression. However, upon closer inspection, this monk gave off an unfathomable feeling. His emperor's chi was as majestic as the ocean. The person who came was the king of immortal seeds from Jinshan Temple, Huefa. Chu Kuangren had also analyzed the opponent's side and immediately realized that Huefa's strength was much higher than the Saber King's. According to the analysis, Huefa has already reached the peak of the Heavenly Dao Lord and stepped onto the path of immortal ascension. He has already passed the first tribulation. The voice of the omniscient spirit, Shao Ai, sounded in his mind. Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up. A king of immortal seeds that had already embarked on the path to immortality? To become an immortal, one had to first overcome the 3 calamities and 9 tribulations. The 3 calamities and 9 tribulations were also known as the path of immortality. Once one embarked on the path of immortality, there would only be 2 outcomes. One would either die on the path of immortality, or the other would become an immortal and live a carefree life. There was no such thing as a false immortal. A false immortal was a cultivator who had exhausted all of his potential and could no longer progress any further. To them, immortals existed only in the realm of illusion. If they did not encounter a great opportunity of fortune, they would never be able to embark on the path of immortality. Little sage monk, it's been a while. The Saber King looked at Huefa and said, Saber King, how have you been? We've gathered so many people this time. I'm sure we can raise the Wailing Ghost Ridge to the ground. The Saber King's eyes lit up. The crusade against the Wailing Ghost Ridge and cleansing the vengeful spirits is an act of boundless virtue. I believe that the Buddha will bless us. Huefa smiled faintly. Buddha is merciful. Behind him, a few monks chanted the Buddha's name. The Saber King curled his lips and snorted. I don't care if the Buddha blesses me or not. I only believe in the sword in my hand. Heh! Huefa chuckled, not minding it at all. After that, more immortal seed cultivators joined the crusade against the Wailing Ghost Ridge. There were even a few immortal seed giants among them. For example, Chu Kuangren had met the divine flame sex god's disciple, Vulcan Shao. His aura was much stronger than before. It could be said that he was the strongest giant below the Sage Seed monarchs. Chu Kuangren chuckled. Interesting. It looks like he has improved a lot these days. I guess I didn't let him go in vain. The value of the weak was too little. Only when the other party became stronger could one reap more value. That was also the reason why Chu Kuangren let Vulcan Xiao go. It was to cast a long line to catch a big fish. Why do I feel a familiar aura here? Vulcan Xiao frowned. His gaze swept across the crowd and finally landed on Chu Kuangren. Although Chu Kuangren was shrouded in a spiritual barrier, he could not see him clearly. However, that aura, was something he would never forget. It's him? Vulcan Xiao's heart trembled violently. He could not help but recall the time when he was defeated by Chu Kuangren in a single move at the Divine Flame Cave. That was a psychological trauma to him. As if sensing that Vulcan Xiao was looking at him, Chu Kuangren turned around and his gaze landed on Vulcan Xiao through the spiritual barrier. At that moment, Vulcan Xiao felt his body stiffen. It was as if he was shrouded by some great terror. He quickly averted his gaze. "Brother Vulcan, what's wrong?" Hui Fa looked at Vulcan Xiao and asked. Vulcan Xiao shook his head. "No, nothing." He did not reveal that Chu Kuangren was also in the group. He had heard that a few God's disciples from the Divine Flame sect had died in Chu Kuangren's hands. If he exposed Chu Kuangren now, what would he do as a God's disciple? He could not defeat Chu Kuangren if he fought, but if he did not fight, he would not be able to explain himself. He might as well pretend that he did not know anything. Hui Fa was also puzzled. He looked in the direction that Vulcan Xiao was looking at. When he saw Chu Kuangren, his eyes flashed. This person was not simple. Chapter 950. This person is not simple. Hui Fa glanced at Chu Kuangren with a strange look in his eyes before he ignored him. He had absolute confidence in himself. Even if his opponent was a Celestial Seed King, he could still suppress it. That was because he was already on the path of immortality. That alone was not something an ordinary Celestial Seed King could compare to. No, he was no longer in Celestial Seed. He was on the path of immortality, demi-immortal. Everyone set off towards the Wailing Ghost Ridge. The closer they got to the Wailing Ghost Ridge, the more gray mist there was, which affected the cultivators even more. However, along the way, Hui Fa and his fellow cultivators had activated their Buddhist light to isolate most of the resentment chi's influence. That would allow everyone to maintain their combat strength when they reached the Wailing Ghost Ridge. The Wailing Ghost Ridge is just up ahead. Hui Fa looked at a mountain in the distance and said, that mountain was shrouded in a thick gray mist, and the resentment chi was overwhelming. Everyone, get ready. Not long after, everyone entered the Wailing Ghost Ridge. As soon as they entered, they could not help but channel their emperor's chi to resist it. Chu Kuangren, however, did not feel anything. The resentment chi mainly targeted his physical body and mind. His physical body was strong, and his soul energy was even more majestic. The resentment chi did not affect him at all. As for Lan Yu, Qing Feng, and the others who were beside him, they were safe with Sword Crown's protection. Bringing Sword Crown here? Isn't that a bit of a bully? Chu Kuangren chuckled to himself. Sword Crown's injuries had mostly recovered. Don't look at how he usually didn't show it. He was an immortal after all. A small Wailing Ghost Ridge could be taken care of with a single slash from him. It was a bit like a max-leveled main character coming to a beginner's village. Look, what's that? Suddenly, someone in the crowd exclaimed. Everyone looked over. There was a blade stuck in one of the mountain walls. The saber looked like it had been around for a very long time and had already rusted. However, there was still a faint immortal radiance circulating on it. That's an immortal weapon. Although it's a broken immortal weapon, if we can bring it back and refine it, we can still get quite a lot of immortal metals. A cultivator said with a fiery gaze. Immortal metals were materials needed to refine immortal weapons, so they were very valuable. A cultivator rushed out and was about to snatch the immortal metal. However, right at this moment, a roar sounded out from the distance. A several zhang tall vengeful spirit rushed out from the mountain forest. The face of this vengeful spirit was distorted, and its original appearance could no longer be seen. However, the aura that erupted from his every move was extremely terrifying. It had already reached the late-stage Heavenly Dao Lord stage. The cultivator who wanted to grab the immortal artifact failed to dodge in time, and the vengeful spirit sent him flying. His face turned pale and he coughed out a mouthful of blood. Vengeful spirits. The vengeful spirit has appeared, everyone be careful. Everyone's expression changed, and they quickly became alert. As for the Sword Burial Sea's young master, Saber Wang Qi, he took a step forward and used his palm as a saber to slice through the void. A majestic saber chi instantly poured out. The vengeful spirit was blasted away by the saber chi. Its powerful strength immediately made many cultivators exclaim in admiration. Is this the strength of the young lord of the Sword Burial Sea? As expected of one of the 12 kings of the immortal world. Truly formidable. Not bad, it's amazing. Beside Chu Kuangren, Jianguan glanced at him. This is the Sword Burial Sea's immortal technique, the Tyrant Saber technique. This kid has cultivated it well, to be able to cultivate it to this level at such a young age. Yes, compared to other immortal seeds, it's indeed much more outstanding. Chu Kuangren chuckled. Upon hearing that, Jianguan let out a dry laugh. He suddenly realized that no matter how outstanding an immortal seed was, it was still trash in front of this person. They were not on the same level at all. After sending the vengeful spirit flying with another slash, Jianguan followed up with another attack. Using his palm as a saber, he fully unleashed the Sword Burial Sea's immortal technique. In just a few breaths' time, the vengeful spirit that was comparable to the Heavenly Dao Lord was slain. After its death, the vengeful spirit turned into a huge cloud of vengeful qi. At that moment, Hui Fa suddenly took out a golden Buddha statue and tossed it into the air. The Buddha statue radiated a golden light, and the vengeful qi that was released after the vengeful spirit's death was absorbed into its body. This scene caused everyone to be stunned. This little sage monk seems to be collecting vengeful qi? Amitba. Once the vengeful qi of these vengeful spirits returns to the heavens and earth, it won't take long for them to condense into vengeful spirits again. To prevent them from harming the world again, I've stored them into this Buddha statue. I'm going to purify them when I return, Hui Fa said with a smile. Upon hearing that, everyone came to a sudden realization. I see. Little sage monk is indeed worthy of his name. He has a bodhisattva's heart and is considerate of the people of the world. I'm impressed. Not bad. Little sage monk lives up to his name. Chu Kuangren glanced at the Buddha statue with a playful look on his face. Interesting. This little sage monk is not as simple as he seems. He had used Xiao AI to analyze that Buddha statue. He had discovered something interesting. After killing a vengeful spirit, the group continued to move forward. Besides the vengeful spirits, they had also encountered many treasures along the way. However, Chu Kuangren had yet to encounter anything that caught his attention. Apart from occasionally killing a few vengeful spirits that came looking for death, he basically did not make any moves and just watched from the sidelines. As the group ventured deeper into the Wailing Ghost Ridge, they were suddenly attacked by a wave of vengeful spirits and fell into battle. Bone-corroding poisonous flame. Vulcan Shao let out a low growl and raised his hand to blast out a black flame. The flame burned the vengeful spirits like maggots. Chu Kuangren watched from the sidelines and smiled playfully. This is a divine flame from the Divine Flame leaderboard. Interesting. Looks like he has found another opportunity even though he didn't get the purple heaven radiant flame. That's good too. Looks like my phoenix flame is going to be replenished again. Not good. At that moment, a scream came from not far away from Chu Kuangren. A woman with a face full of pockmarks was being surrounded by several vengeful spirits. She used her sword to defend herself, but after a few moves, she was at a disadvantage and was in danger. The other cultivators around her were busy dealing with other vengeful spirits and did not have the time to help her. Those who were more capable did not help either. This was especially true for the Saber King. He carried his saber on his back and crossed his arms as he watched from the sidelines. A swordsman? And such a vulgar woman at that. Such a person is not worthy of my help. The sword burial sea cultivators seemed to have some sort of prejudice against swordsmen in the world. They did not treat them kindly at all. If this woman was a beauty, he might have helped her. Unfortunately, her face was full of pockmarks, which made him feel disgusted. Not far away, Hui Fa was using his Buddhist light to fight against a vengeful spirit. With his strength, he could finish off the vengeful spirit quickly and save the woman. However, he did not do so. That was because he did not want to reveal his true strength for now. The pockmarked woman was being surrounded by vengeful spirits, but no one helped her. The cruelty of the cultivation world was on full display. It's over. Am I going to die here? The pockmarked woman's eyes were filled with despair. However, at that moment, Chu Kuangren, who was not far away, casually raised his hand. Swords, spears, swords, and halberds formed out of thin air and shot towards the vengeful spirits that were surrounding the pockmarked woman. With a few loud explosions, the vengeful spirits were completely destroyed. This scene made Hui Fa, the Saber King, and the others who were not far away, slightly stunned. They looked at Chu Kuangren with a strange expression on their faces. I can't believe there's such an expert in our team. This person is indeed not simple. Chapter 951. Phew, I'm saved. The pockmarked woman let out a sigh of relief and looked at Chu Kuangren with gratitude. Thank you for saving me, brother. She clearly saw that the Sword King and the others had the ability to help. The only one who could save her was Chu Kuangren. Don't worry about it. It was nothing. Chu Kuangren said calmly. Saving the pockmarked woman was just a matter of convenience. It was like seeing some pitiful kittens and puppies on the road and throwing them a bone. It was all based on his heart. To you, it was nothing, but to me, you saved my life. I'll remember this favor, the pockmarked woman said solemnly. Chu Kuangren glanced at her. The woman was tall, slender, and had exquisite facial features. If it were not for her pockmarked face, she would have been a beauty. Up to you. Chu Kuangren said calmly. It was just a matter of convenience and he did not expect anything in return. All right. The pockmarked woman stood aside and did not say another word. Suddenly, she noticed that a few people were surrounded by wraiths and were in danger. She hesitated for a while, but she still joined the battle and went forward to help. Kind people are rare in this world of cultivation where the strong prey on the weak. Jingguan chuckled and said, just now, no one had helped the pockmarked woman, but she didn't resent the people of the world. Instead, she went to help other cultivators who were on the verge of death. Such a pure and innocent heart was truly rare. Do you know why it's rare? Because they die young. Jingguan laughed mockingly. No one knew whether he was laughing at them or the world of cultivation. Chu Kuangren was silent. Suddenly, Jingguan exclaimed as he looked at the cultivators who were surrounded by wraiths. The sword technique they're using is the Dragon Roar sword art. The cultivators who were surrounded swung their swords and unleashed their sword chi. The sword chi intertwined and formed the silhouette of a dragon, its roar echoing through the clouds. The Dragon Roar sword art was the ultimate technique of the Dragon Roar sword sect, which was also Jingguan's sect. What a coincidence! Do you want to help? Chu Kuangren asked. No need. This is a good opportunity to see how strong the young cultivators from Dragon Song Sword faction are, Jingguan said with a smile. Not long after, the cultivators of the Dragon Chant Sword sect and the pockmarked woman worked together to deal with the vengeful spirits that surrounded them. Not bad. Jingguan nodded slightly. He wasn't satisfied, but he wasn't disappointed either. Many thanks, fellow Taoist. The cultivators of the Dragon Chant Sword sect thanked the pockmarked woman. You're welcome. Very quickly, the rest of the people also dealt with the vengeful spirits and began to collect some of the scattered treasures. At that moment, the Saber King walked towards Chu Kuangren and saw the sword at his waist. He asked, Are you a swordsman? For the time being. Swordsman, your strength is not bad. Take out your sword. Let me see what your sword skills are like. The Saber King said indifferently as his aura surged out. Before Chu Kuangren could say anything, the pockmarked lady beside him spoke first. Now that we're at the Wailing Ghost Ridge, We should work together to deal with the vengeful spirits. Young master of the sword burial sea, please reconsider. Upon hearing the pockmarked lady's words, the Saber King's eyes darkened and he said coldly, "Oh, so you're telling me what to do now?" The pockmarked lady frowned. "I don't mean that." Then scram. The Saber King snorted. The cultivators of the Dragon Chant Sword sect also walked up and said, "This Taoist is very strong. It's normal for the Saber King to be excited, but we're at the Wailing Ghost Ridge now. Please look at the bigger picture. Dragon Chant Sword sect, if your elder senior brother was here, I might consider it. But today, I'm going to defeat this person. If you want to stop me, I don't mind killing you first." The Saber King said coldly. The people of the Dragon Chant Sword sect did not expect the Saber King to be so strong. Rumor had it that the Saber King enjoyed defeating swordsmen, especially the stronger ones. After witnessing Chu Kuangren's strength when he saved the pockmarked lady, he knew that Chu Kuangren was definitely a worthy opponent. Beside him, Hui Fa was using the Buddha statue to collect vengeful qi. The Buddha statue was gradually dyed in a layer of blood. He glanced at Chu Kuangren but did not intend to stop him. He wanted to see how strong this mysterious person was and whether he was a threat to him. Flaming Deity Shao was happy to see this happen too. He did not want to get into a fight with Chu Kuangren, but he would be happy if someone else fought Chu Kuangren. It would be even better if he could defeat Chu Kuangren. At that moment, Chu Kuangren could not help but chuckle. He looked at the Saber King and said, "You want me to use my sword, but I'm afraid you don't have the right to." The crowd was in an uproar when they heard that. This person dared to challenge the Saber King? Did he have a death wish? This time he's dead meat. Yes, the Saber King only wanted to defeat him to improve his record of defeating all the swordsmen in the world. But now that he dared to challenge the Saber King will definitely kill him. This guy is so stupid. As expected, the Saber King's eyes narrowed when he heard Chu Kuangren's words, and a cold, murderous intent shot out from his eyes. "You're asking for it?" The saber on the Saber King's back was already trembling. The domineering aura made the crowd feel extremely heavy. When the pockmarked lady saw the Saber King's stubbornness, she gritted her teeth and said, "I'm Qin Guan's daughter. This Taoist here has saved my life. Saber King, as long as I'm here, you're not allowed to attack." The crowd was stunned when they heard the pockmarked lady's words. Then they burst into laughter. "Ha, did I hear it wrong? This pockmarked lady said she's Qin Guan's daughter. She must be out of her mind. Qin Guan is one of the 7 crowns, one of the most powerful immortals in the Green Orchid immortal realm. How dare she say she's his daughter? This is too funny. I can't take it anymore, this is too funny. I heard that Qin Guan's daughter is an outstanding beauty with jade-like bones and smooth skin. How dare an ugly freak like her call herself Qin Guan's daughter? She should take a mirror and look at herself." Facing everyone's mockery, the pockmarked lady took out a handkerchief and a water bottle and wiped her face. The black pockmarks on her face were wiped away. The pockmarked lady revealed her original face. It was a delicate face with beautiful eyebrows, a high nose, and smooth skin. Compared to her appearance just now, she was a completely different person. Everyone was dumbfounded and couldn't help but stare with their mouths agape. "Oh my God, she's actually this beautiful." Then, the pockmarked lady took out a jade token. On top of it, the word Qin was engraved. As soon as the jade token was taken out, the air was filled with the sound of a zither. "This is my Jiao Shao Huan Pei Manor's jade token. It's enough to prove that I am Qin Guan's daughter," the lady said. Everyone looked at the jade token and listened to the zither music. Suddenly they felt regretful. Damn, this woman was really Qin Guan's daughter. They actually missed a great opportunity to befriend Qin Guan and save the beauty. Thinking about this, some people's intestines turned green with regret. Even the Saber King could not help but feel a little annoyed. If he had made a move just now, he might have been able to capture the heart of this peerless beauty. Why did he have to go against her for Chu Kuangren? Chapter 952. The original pockmarked and ugly person had suddenly turned into a peerless beauty, And she was even the Guqin Crown's lady. This dramatic scene left everyone dumbfounded. Many of them were annoyed. Even the Saber King himself was among them. Chu Kuangren was also a little surprised. He did not expect the person he had randomly saved to have such a background. The sword crown behind Chu Kuangren seemed to have thought of something as he looked at the Guqin Crown's lady and said, "She does look a little like her." As the former sword crown, he had naturally seen the Guqin Crown before. Compared to the enmity between him and the sword crown, his friendship with the Guqin Crown was not shallow. "Saber King, as the Guqin Crown's lady, I forbid you to harm this Taoist friend," the Guqin Crown's lady, Xue Qinxin, said. Seeing her determined look, the crowd was even more annoyed. They looked at Chu Kuangren with envy and jealousy. This kid had made a fortune by saving the Guqin Crown's lady. Moreover, the Guqin Crown's lady did not seem to have much experience in the world. If he had some tricks up his sleeve, he might have been able to win her heart. If that happened, he would have reached the heavens in a single bound. The more the crowd thought about it, the more envious and frustrated they became. Why did they not make a move just now? They had given up such a great opportunity just like that. How hateful. Chu Kuangren did not feel anything. The Guqin Crown's lady was indeed amazing in the eyes of others, but the sword crown, who was on par with the Guqin Crown, was now his follower. Looking at it that way, the Guqin Crown's lady was nothing. "Saber King, let's postpone the challenge for now." At that moment, Hui Fa walked over and said. It was not that he wanted to befriend the Guqin Crown's lady like the others, but he felt that they still had to explore the Wailing Ghost Ridge. If they got entangled with Chu Kuangren for too long, it would delay his plan. "Kid, consider yourself lucky." The Saber King took a deep breath and retracted his aura. The sword crown behind Chu Kuangren chuckled and shook his head. "Ignorant junior, you're the one who got lucky and survived." "Master, why didn't you make a move?" Then, the sword crown asked Chu Kuangren curiously. Because there's something more interesting. A Saber King is just an ant. I can crush him anytime I want, but it wouldn't be good if I startled him." Chu Kuangren looked at Bian Hui Fa and the others at the front and smiled. Hearing this, Jian Guan fell into deep thought. Everyone continued moving forward. However, due to the appearance of Xue Qinxin, the daughter of the Guqin Crown, there were some changes in the group, and many people began to fawn over her. "Miss Xue, I have a few elixirs that can replenish Emperor's Qi. You must have used up a lot of Emperor's Qi just now. Do you need to use them?" "Miss Xue, this is a fragment of an immortal artifact. It can be used to extract immortal metal. Wait here. I will go get it for you." "Be careful, Miss Xue. Leave this vengeful spirit to me." Similar situations kept happening. Some of the female cultivators curled their lips in disdain. Xue Qinxin, of course, knew why these people were suddenly being nice to her. Therefore, she politely declined them one by one. She looked at Chu Kuangren, who was not far away, with a curious look in her eyes. Ever since she revealed her identity, Chu Kuangren had not paid any attention to her other than thanking her in the beginning. When she was in disguise, he was like this. Now that she had removed her disguise, he was still acting the same way. It was as if the pockmarked woman and the daughter of the Guqin Crown were no different to him. Xue Qinxin took the initiative to walk towards Chu Kuangren. "Brother, my name is Xue Qinxin. You've saved me, but I still don't know your name." "My surname is Chu." He did not say his full name. "Hello, Brother Chu." Not far away, a few cultivators snorted. One of them said condescendingly, "Who would know who you are if you only say, Chu? Don't think we don't know that you're pretending to be cold and aloof here to attract Miss Xue's attention, right? I've seen this kind of trick many times." "That's right. Don't be fooled by him, Miss Xue. I'm afraid he's up to no good." These people had long regarded Chu Kuangren as their rival in wooing Xue Qinxin, and they were trying their best to belittle him. Not far away, the Vulcan howl broke out in cold sweat when he heard that. These suicidal people are jumping on the edge of life and death. He subconsciously distanced himself from these cultivators. "Shut up, all of you!" Xue Qinxin yelled coldly. Although the few cultivators were a little more restrained after hearing her yell, their hatred for Chu Kuangren grew even more. Their eyes flashed with hatred. One of them sneaked up behind Chu Kuangren and raised his hand, and a black ray of light shot towards him. It was a black, cone-shaped hidden weapon. It was so powerful that it could easily kill an ordinary Sky Dao master. Clang! However, the black cone stopped 3 inches away from Chu Kuangren, unable to get any closer to him. The cultivator who used the hidden weapon could not help but be shocked. How's this possible? The next moment, the cone-concealed weapon flew out at an even faster speed, directly penetrating the cultivator's head, killing him in an instant. How foolish! Chu Kuangren channeled his mind power, and a few spiritual energy blades condensed and instantly locked onto the few cultivators. Whoosh, 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 the spiritual energy blades pierced through the air. The few cultivators still wanted to resist, but they were blasted into pieces by the hundreds of spiritual energy blades within a breath's time. See, this is the only way to shut them up. Chu Kuangren looked at Xue Qinxin and said. Xue Qinxin could not help but shudder. However, she did not question or blame Chu Kuangren. Instead, she lamented, "Those who humiliate others will always be humiliated, and those who kill will always be killed. These people brought this upon themselves." Chu Kuangren smirked. "Looks like it's not the Saint Mother after all." "Saint Mother? What do you mean?" "Nothing." Xue Qinxin did not ask any further. "Serves them right for provoking that guy. TSK, he's still as decisive as ever." Vulcan Xiao, who was not far away, marveled. As for the others, they did not dare to provoke Chu Kuangren after witnessing his methods. Instead, they stayed away from him. Not long after, the group had entered the depths of the Wailing Ghost Ridge. At that moment, a roar echoed throughout the forest, and waves of resentment surged like a tidal wave, shaking the heavens and earth. Everyone's gaze froze. What a powerful resentment chi! I'm afraid this vengeful spirit won't be easy to deal with. Not far away, a vengeful spirit the size of a small hill rushed out of the forest on all fours like a wild beast. This vengeful spirit had a strange appearance. It had a human face, but its limbs were extremely long. It crawled on the ground like a giant spider. Hui Fei's eyes lit up when he saw this vengeful spirit. "Everyone, this vengeful spirit is the strongest vengeful spirit in the Wailing Ghost Ridge. As long as we kill it, the treasures in the Wailing Ghost Ridge will be ours to take." As he spoke, he made the first move. Waves of golden Buddhist light bloomed, and then, a golden Buddhist palm descended from the sky and smashed towards the vengeful spirit. When the other immortal seeds saw that, they immediately made their moves. In an instant, a battle broke out. Chu Kuangren watched from the side and chuckled. "No matter how I look at it, it looks like they're forming a team." Chapter 953. The strongest vengeful spirit of the Crying Ghost Ridge had appeared. With Hui Fa and the Saber Monarch leading the way, the celestial seed prodigies immediately launched their attacks. All sorts of powerful celestial techniques were blasted out. The vengeful spirit roared and waved its limbs, creating a violent storm. A casual attack was comparable to the power of the heavenly Tao Lord, causing the prodigy's celestial seeds to be damaged one after another. Tyrant Saber Technique, World Domination. The Saber Monarch roared. The saber behind him was suddenly unsheathed with a clang. The black saber body emitted a dark glow. As the saber slashed out, a boundlessly domineering giant saber shadow slashed down from the sky. Amid the rumble, the void of the celestial realm was almost torn apart. The giant saber's might caused half of the Crying Ghost Ridge to shake violently. Amit Ba! A Buddhist chant suddenly rang out. The little sage monk Hui Fa sat in the void. Large amounts of Buddhist light circulated around his body, making him look extremely holy and peaceful. Great Nirvana Palm. He let out a soft shout and slowly raised his palm. Instantly, a giant Buddhist light hand reached out from the clouds. With a power that could shake the sun, moon, mountains, and rivers, it slammed toward the vengeful spirit. The other celestial seed prodigies also made their moves. Bone-corroding poisonous fire. Fire deity Xiao shouted. Large amounts of black flames spewed out of his body and turned into a giant fireball that smashed out like a meteor. Dragon Chant Sword Technique, Soaring Dragon. The celestial seed of the Dragon Chant Sword sect activated the sword aura. Instantly, rays of sword aura intertwined to form dragon shadows that whizzed out. Several extremely powerful energies comparable to that of a hollow immortal landed on the vengeful spirit's body, causing a series of loud explosions. After a scream, the vengeful spirit lay on the ground. Its body gradually disintegrated into scarlet vengeful aura and dissipated. We did it! Ha, we finally did it! Everyone was overjoyed. Hui Fa also smiled. He took out the Buddha statue from before and tossed it into the air, absorbing all the vengeful aura. As large amounts of vengeful aura were absorbed, the Buddha statue was now completely scarlet and emanated a blood-colored Buddhist light. It was extremely eerie. Just the last step. Hui Fa said with a smile. Beside him, the saber monarch frowned. This Buddha statue looks a little eerie. And Hui Fa, what last step? This Buddha statue is called the Resentful Buddha. This is an immortal artifact. However, in order to activate this item, a large amount of resentment and the blood essence of living beings is required, Hui Fa said. Hearing this, everyone was stunned. That wasn't what Hui Fa said previously. Little holy monk, you just said that you were going to take this resentment back to purify it. Why did it become the activation of an immortal artifact now? That's because I lied to you. Hui Fa said indifferently. A cold glint flashed in his eyes. In the next instant, the blood-colored Buddha statue suddenly shone with Buddha light, enveloping everything within a radius of 1,000 miles. The celestial seed prodigies were shocked. Not good. It's a trap. They wanted to retreat, but it was already too late. The blood-colored Buddhist light completely enveloped them, forming a blood-colored barrier. Everyone was trapped in the barrier. Little holy monk, what are you trying to do? Hui Fa quickly released the barrier. Senior brother, what are you doing? Everyone looked angrily at Hui Fa. Even the monks of the Golden Mountain Temple revealed a puzzled look. Hui Fa put his palms together and smiled faintly. Everyone, in order to complete this little monk's path to Buddhahood, I have no choice but to ask all of you to die. The Saber King's face darkened. You want to use our blood essence to activate this resentful Buddha. This is the real reason why you asked me to lead you and bring people to this crying ghost ridge to encircle the resentful spirit. That's right. Hui Fa nodded slightly. You have such a vicious heart. Hui Fa, as the little holy monk of the Golden Mountain Temple, how can you use such evil means? That's right, Hui Fa, you better let us go quickly. Everyone cursed loudly. As an immortal orthodoxy in the Qinglan immortal world and a Buddhist sacred land, the Golden Mountain Temple had always been highly respected. The holy monks inside were all compassionate and pitied the state of the universe. Even if they were beaten to death, they would never have thought that the little holy monk Hui Fa would do such a thing today. For his own selfishness, he wanted to use their blood essence to activate the immortal artifact, the resentful Buddha. How was this the little holy monk? This was clearly the evil monk. Amitabha, there is no turning back on the path of the resentful Buddha. Everyone, don't worry, I won't let you die too painfully. Hui Fa chanted the name of Buddha and said with a compassionate tone. Following that, he raised his hand and blasted out a palm strike. A large amount of Buddhist light enveloped the few Golden Mountain Temple cultivators in front of him. With a loud bang, these people were blasted into a bloody mist on the spot. Everyone was dumbfounded. Never would they have imagined that the little sage monk would actually kill a fellow cultivator like this. He killed him without any hesitation. The bloody mist gathered towards the resentful Buddha. After absorbing the blood essence, the resentful Buddha's blood-colored Buddhist light became even more demonic. Everyone even saw the resentful Buddha's eyebrows twitch as if it had come to life. This made everyone's hearts palpitate. Damn it, destroy this resentful Buddha first, the Saber King said. He gripped the saber in his hand tightly and displayed the immortal technique hegemonic saber technique. A domineering giant saber shadow slashed towards the resentful Buddha. However, Hui Fa stood up and blocked it. He raised his hand and a Buddhist light shot out, easily blocking the shadow of the knife. Seeing this, the Saber King's expression changed. How is this possible? He did not believe it and slashed again. Hegemonic saber technique, dominating the 8 desolate lands. The saber shadow slashed down with boundless domineering power that could break the stars. It's useless, Hui Fa said coldly. The power of the Emperor aura and Buddhist light on his body surged. With a palm strike, a giant Buddhist light palm blocked the saber shadow. Throughout the entire process, he did not even take half a step back. On the other hand, the Saber King was forced back dozens of feet. Your Emperor aura. The Saber King thought of something and his face revealed a trace of fear. You guessed correctly. I am already on the path of immortal ascension and have passed the first of the 3 calamities and 9 tribulations. My Emperor aura has been tempered by the lightning tribulation. How can you compare to me? Hui Fa said coldly, his eyes filled with pride. How can this be? The Saber King's expression kept changing. The 3 calamities and 9 tribulations were the necessary stages of immortal ascension. Cultivators who started on this path of immortal ascension had already started to transform into immortals. Their strength was not something that cultivators who had not started on the path of immortal ascension could compare to. Let's go! The Saber King knew that he was no match for Hui Fa and did not want to fight him to the death. His figure flashed and he flew into the distance. Where can you go in my bounded domain? Hui Fa chuckled. Suddenly, a powerful wave of energy exploded from the Saber King's body. There was a faint glow circulating around his body. Hui Fa's eyes narrowed. This is the blood of an immortal? The Saber King was the young master of the Sea of Swords burial and the son of Daoguan. He had the blood of an immortal. This blood of an immortal was reflected in his cultivation talent. It was also the reason why he could become one of the 12 kings of celestial seeds. Not only that, but once he activated the blood of an immortal, his strength would increase rapidly. Using the blood of an immortal would consume one's potential. Therefore, he would not use it unless he was in a critical situation. Relying on the power of the blood of an immortal, the Saber King tore a small hole in the bloody bounded domain and charged out. Hui Fa's expression did not look good, but he looked at the other celestial seeds. Amitba. Everyone, please die. Chapter 954. Inside the resentful Buddha enchantment, Hui Fa was mercilessly slaughtering the remaining sky prides and celestial seeds. With his strength, not many sky prides at the Wailing Ghost Ridge could fight him, not even the celestial seed giants. D***, if this goes on, we'll all die. This is the Golden Mountain Temple's little sage monk? This is the nefarious monk. The Lady of the Guqin Crown, Xue Qinxin, was sent flying by the Buddhist light. She came before Chu Kuangren and said, "Brother Chu, follow me. I'll activate my celestial bloodline power and we'll break through this enchantment together." She was the Lady of the Guqin Crown and had the same celestial bloodline as the Saber King. Chu Kuangren glanced at her but did not say anything. By then, Hui Fa had already arrived before them. When he mentioned Xue Qinxin's words, he smiled and said, "You won't have that chance." He gently raised his hand, and a giant golden palm descended from the sky. Wherever it passed, the void trembled. Xue Qinxin was locked on by this power, and her face turned pale. At this distance, she could not activate her celestial bloodline power at all. Just as the Lady of the Guqin Crown was about to fall, a sword ray suddenly swept past her and sliced the giant golden palm in half. Hui Fa's expression changed as he was sent flying dozens of feet away by the sword Qi. This sword Qi, a celestial seed ruler. Hui Fa looked at Chu Kuangren in shock. You're a little sage monk, yet you chose to walk on this unorthodox path instead of the Buddhist path. Do you have something wrong with your brain? Chu Kuangren said as he slowly walked out. The crowd could not help but look hopeful when they saw him. This person could force Hui Fa to retreat with a single sword strike. He must be a celestial seed ruler. Great, we're saved. No, even if he's a celestial seed ruler, Hui Fa is already on the immortal ascension path. Can this person be his match? Those with celestial seeds did not have much hope. The others were also very anxious when they heard that. After all, cultivators on the immortal ascension path were already considered half-immortals. You really are something, but unfortunately, I'm already a half-immortal. You're no match for me. Hui Fa looked at Chu Kuangren and said confidently. He took a step forward. The powerful Emperor's chi and origin energy that had been tempered by the lightning tribulation whistled out from his body, fusing with the Buddhist light. His power skyrocketed, making him seem like a mighty and dignified Buddha. Nirvana palm. Hui Fa struck out with his palm and a huge golden Buddha palm descended from the sky. Its power was even stronger than before. Stupid. Chu Kuangren remained calm as the origin energy within his body surged out one after another and surrounded his body with a dazzling celestial radiance. The descendant's self-sword at his waist was unsheathed with a clang. With a slash of the sword chi that was supported by many strands of source energy slashed through the air. Wherever it passed, purple lotuses bloomed, and the sharp chi was hard to block. When the people of the Dragon Chant Sword sect saw this, they were extremely shocked. This is the Thousand Lotus Sword will. Sword Crown's Thousand Lotus Sword essence, how did he learn it? The others were also extremely shocked. Meanwhile, the Buddha's palm and the sword chi had already collided. The two forces collided, causing the entire space to tremble violently. However, the sword chi cut open the giant golden palm with irresistible force. Hui Fa was once again blasted away. How is this possible? How do you have such powerful strength? Have you also embarked on the immortal ascension path? No, that's not right. Your body doesn't have the aura of being cleansed by the lightning tribulation. I don't think you've embarked on the immortal ascension path. But how do you have such a terrifying origin energy? Moreover, your attributes are so mixed. What's going on? Hui Fa was a little dumbfounded as he looked at Chu Kuangren in shock. Chu Kuangren could not help but chuckle when he heard that. Embarking on the immortal ascension path? He had not embarked on the immortal ascension path. He had not even comprehended his own origin energy, so how could he embark on the immortal ascension path? Creating one's own origin energy, this was countless times more difficult than becoming an immortal. In the eyes of others, a cultivator who had not embarked on the immortal ascension path was far inferior to a cultivator who had already embarked on the immortal ascension path. However, that was only the opinion of others, the perception of others. Chu Kuangren's forte was to break people's perceptions. Chu Kuangren had yet to create his own origin energy, but he could still use other origin energies such as the fire origin, frost origin, sword origin, devouring origin, physical origin, moonlight origin. With so many origin energies added together, how could he be weaker than a half-immortal? Hui Fa, do you think you can look down on the younger generation just because you've embarked on the immortal ascension path? Unfortunately, you've miscalculated an anomaly. Behind Chu Kuangren, Sword Crown said calmly. Even as an immortal, Sword Crown still could not see through Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren had clearly not embarked on the immortal ascension path, yet his combat strength was more terrifying than a half-immortal's. Moreover, he possessed so many origin energies. This was simply unimaginable. D***, the Buddha resentment avatar. At that moment, Hui Fa took a step forward and rays of Buddhist light radiated from his body. These Buddhist lights were dyed in a blood-red color. The blood-red Buddhist light, the Buddhist light manifested and turned into a blood-colored Buddha Dharma form. Behind Chu Kuangren, the crown swordsman had a strange look in his eyes when he saw that. I was wondering why that Buddha statue looked so familiar. So it's the inheritance of the demonic Buddha sect from a long time ago. TSK, interesting. As a lesser sage monk of the Golden Hill Temple, he has obtained the inheritance of the demonic Buddha sect. The evil Buddha sect was a celestial orthodoxy from a long time ago. However, due to its way of doing things being too treacherous, it was destroyed by the alliance of a few orthodoxies at that time, and the one who led the charge was the first abbot of the Golden Mountain Temple. Now, the little sage monk of the Golden Mountain Temple had obtained the evil Buddha sect's inheritance. It had to be said that fate made fools of people. Hui Fa activated the celestial techniques of the evil Buddha sect and formed the Hate Buddha Dharma. The Hate Buddha statue that was absorbing the blood essence of living beings trembled slightly and flew towards Hui Fa. It actually merged with the Dharma behind him. An immortal artifact and an immortal technique combined. Hui Fa's battle prowess had actually increased by another level. You have the 1,000 Lotus Sword intent, and you have the aura of an outsider. If I'm not mistaken, you must be the famous Chu Kuangren. Hui Fa said coldly. Exactly. Chu Kuangren did not try to hide anymore. The spiritual light on his face dissipated, and suddenly, a handsome face that could make even the sun and moon lose their luster appeared in front of everyone. So his name is Chu Kuangren? Xue Qinxin stared at Chu Kuangren's face in a daze. No one knew what she was thinking about. The others also started to discuss among themselves. Chu Kuangren, the outsider who killed a few sacred city enforcers and the Divine Flame Sect's bachelor sage. So it's him. This person's strength is indeed worthy of his reputation. The blood-colored Buddhist light on Hui Fa's body circulated, and his originally handsome face became a little more demonic. Outsider, I admit that you're indeed very strong. However, now that I've combined my celestial techniques and immortal weapons, I'd like to see what you're going to use to fight me. Then, the Hate Buddha Dharma behind him moved. With its eyes wide open, it formed a lotus finger with its right hand and attacked Chu Kuangren. The blood-colored Buddhist light was like a flood that surged towards Chu Kuangren. In the face of such power, Chu Kuangren stood still. The origin energy around him circulated, and the two Taoist seals also appeared. With the fusion of the heavenly Tao's energy, he unleashed another sword attack. A majestic sword ray erupted, and lotuses bloomed in the void wherever it passed. Amidst the loud bang, the blood-colored Buddhist light slashed apart like a torrent and landed on the Hate Buddha Dharma, tearing it apart. The Hate Buddha Dharma then separated itself from the Dharma and flew out. What? Hui Fa's expression changed drastically. He did not even have time to retrieve the Hate Buddha Dharma before his figure turned into a blood-colored ray of light and flew out. Hey, trying to escape? Jian Guan chuckled and tried to stop him. Let him go. Chu Kuangren said, this person has the wicked Buddha sect's inheritance and some secrets. It's a pity to kill him now. I'm still looking forward to the fun he'll bring me. Chapter 955. Casting a long line to catch a big fish. Jingguan looked at Chu Kuangren and shook his head. He then ignored him. Then, Chu Kuangren used his mind power to pick up the blood-colored Buddha statue. He sensed the resentment chi on it and smirked. It's a decent immortal weapon, but it's not a complete one. Chu Kuangren analyzed it with Xiao AI. I have heard of it before as well. In the past, the evil Buddha sect possessed a sect-guarding immortal weapon known as the 3 heads and 6 arms resentful Buddha. However, during the war against the evil Buddha sect, the resentful Buddha was broken into 3 parts. This resentful Buddha should be one of them, Jianguan said. He had lived for a long time, so he knew a lot of things. As for the remaining 2 parts, I'll let Hui Fa help us find them. Chu Kuangren kept the resentful Buddha and smiled. Then he looked at the others. Thank you for your help, Brother Chu. The Dragon Song Sword sect cultivators gathered around and thanked him. Chu Kuangren nodded and said, it's just that this person offended me. Saving you guys was just a matter of convenience. By the way, Brother Chu, where did you learn the 1,000 Lotus Sword intent from? The leader of the sword sect Immortal Seeds asked. Chu Kuangren glanced at Jingguan. I was the one who gave you the 1,000 Lotus Sword intent, Jingguan said. Then, a sword appeared in his hand. It was a sword with a hilt in the shape of a green lotus. Taoist patterns intertwined on it, and it shone brightly as it emanated a powerful fluctuation. When they saw that sword, the pupils of everyone from Sword Sect constricted as they looked at the sword crown in shock. Green Lotus Celestial Sword. It's good that you know. There's no need to announce it, Jingguan said. The Dragon Song Sword Sect cultivators nodded, but they were still shocked. The person in front of them was a legendary figure. Yet, this person was now with Chu Kuangren. Like, a follower? Oh god. They did not know how to describe their shock. Chu Kuangren ignored the Dragon Song Sword sect cultivators. He looked at a figure not far away and disappeared. Vulcan Howl wanted to leave without anyone noticing, but suddenly, a figure appeared in front of him. It was Chu Kuangren. Where do you want to go? Chu Kuangren said indifferently. Chu Kuangren, what do you want? The Divine Flame Church of Light has repeatedly offended me. Tell me, what can I do about it? Chu Kuangren raised his hand and unleashed a palm attack towards the other party. Boom! The terrifying phoenix fire immediately whistled out. Vulcan Zhao's expression changed drastically as he activated the divine flame on his body. Bone-corroding poisonous flame. The black flames collided with the phoenix flames, but they were easily devoured by the phoenix flames in the next instant. As for the fire god's howl, it was burnt to ashes by the phoenix fire without being able to fight back, leaving behind only a black fire seed. It was the bone-corroding poison flame spark. Looks like I didn't let you go for nothing back then. You've brought me another type of divine fire, which I can use as a resource for my phoenix fire. Chu Kuangren chuckled. He then wrapped his phoenix fire around the bone-corroding poisonous flame and absorbed it into his body. Chu Kuangren glanced at the wailing ghost ridge and pondered for a while. Then he narrowed his eyes and shouted coldly, "Everyone, I'll give you 2 hours to leave Crying Ghost Ridge." As soon as he finished speaking, a majestic pressure instantly spread out. Everyone's expression changed. What does he mean? Does he plan to monopolize the treasures of the Wailing Ghost Ridge? That's too much. Even if he defeated Hui Fa and saved us, he's still too much. He's just an outsider after all. Everyone discussed among themselves, somewhat dissatisfied. If you don't leave, you'll die. Chu Kuangren's cold voice rang out again. Everyone looked at each other and then left helplessly. They were no match for Chu Kuangren now. If he wanted to kill them, it would be a piece of cake. Senior, we'll take our leave first. The Dragon Song Sword Sect's people said to Jingguan. All right. Xue Qinxin walked towards Chu Kuangren and hesitated for a while before she took out a jade pendant. This is a token from the 9 Firmament Ring Manor. You've saved me twice. If you're free in the future, come to the 9 Firmament Ring Manor. I'll repay you well. The 9 Firmament Ring Manor was one of the immortal orthodoxies. It was the orthodoxy that specialized in musical Dao in the Green Orchid Immortal Realm. Chu Kuangren did not reject Xue Qinxin's kindness and accepted the token. I'll pay you a visit if I pass by. I'll wait for you then. A smile appeared on Xue Qinxin's face before she left. After the cultivators left, Chu Kuangren looked at Lan Yu and the others and said, I'm going to go into closed-door meditation here for a while. There are many treasures here, so you guys should train here. Jingguan, I'll leave them to your care. The latter part of his sentence was directed at Jingguan. Jingguan nodded. Don't worry, master. With me around, I won't let anything happen to them. Chu Kuangren was relieved. After all, Jingguan's strength was almost fully recovered. Even if an immortal were to come, he would still be killed. After that, Chu Kuangren opened up a cave in the Wailing Ghost Ridge and turned it into his closed-door meditation. There were 2 main things he had to do during this closed-door meditation. The first was to refine the bone-corroding poisonous flame and merge it with the phoenix fire. The second was to cultivate the Jade Lake Immortal Scripture. The first thing is to absorb the bone-corroding poisonous flame. A black flame appeared on Chu Kuangren's palm. This divine flame is a poisonous flame. Perhaps I can learn the origin of poison from it. A blood-red ray of light flashed past. Hui Fa came to a mountain peak with a terrible expression. D**eminent. I didn't expect Chu Kuangren to be this strong. Even the unity technique is no match for him. He clearly hasn't stepped onto the immortal ascension path, so how does he have such terrifying combat strength? Hui Fa was puzzled. Now that the resentful Buddha has fallen into his hands, it won't be easy to take it back. I must find the other 2 resentful Buddhas. Only then will I have a chance to fight him. Fortunately, according to the records, The other two resentful Buddhas have fallen into the immortal ancient battlefield. I need to find them as soon as possible and activate them. Hui Fa took a deep breath and reorganized himself. Suddenly, he heard a conversation coming from not far away. Have you heard? The divine flame Ming cult's first god's disciple has obtained another powerful divine flame. His combat strength is so strong that even a false immortal can't compete with him. I think he's about to step onto the immortal ascension path. It's not just him. Even the Sage City Lord's Jingguan's direct disciple, Wu Wuji, is very powerful too. He killed 3 celestial seed cultivators with a single strike of his spear. Even I am terrified by his combat strength. Hui Fa's eyes lit up when he heard these conversations. Even if I obtain the other 2 resentful Buddhas, I might not be a match for Chu Kuangren. I need to join forces with others. Rumor has it that this person has killed the divine flame Ming cult's disciple and the Sage City Lord. Perhaps I can find them to cooperate with. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that it was feasible. Chu Kuangren, no matter how strong you are, you're just one person. You're just an outsider. How are you going to compete with us, the native celestial seed kings? Your identity as an outsider will be the reason for your defeat. Chapter 956. Inside the Wailing Ghost Ridge. Chu Kuangren had used his phoenix fire to devour the bone-corroding poisonous flame, turning it into his phoenix fire's food. Not only that, but he had also gained insight into the origin of poison through the bone-corroding poisonous flame. Now, he had a total of 9 origin energies in his body. 9 strands of origin energy. Furthermore, they were origin energy of 9 different attributes. If news of this were to spread, it would be enough to scare a large number of people to death. 9 origin energies is still not enough. Before I create my own origin energies, I need to control more origin energies. Only then can I continue to suppress those half-immortals who have embarked on the immortal ascension path, or even the mortals. He could already suppress half-immortals before. That gave him a bold idea. If he could control more origin energies, would he be able to fight against immortals? Perhaps I can give it a try. But before that, I need to gain insight into the Jade Lake Immortal Scripture. Chu Kuangren took out the green phoenix mirror. After spending some time with Qing Feng, he had fully mastered her green phoenix physique. Although he had not mastered the eye of the green phoenix, he could still easily use the Emperor's Qi that was activated by the green phoenix physique. With a thought, he activated the green phoenix physique and channeled the Emperor's Qi into the green phoenix mirror. In an instant, the green phoenix mirror glowed and countless mysterious runes appeared. It was an immortal scripture. The Jade Lake Immortal Scripture. Chu Kuangren immediately felt several surges of mysterious origin energies when he first saw the Immortal Scripture. He was shocked. The Jade Lake Immortal Scripture contained more than one type of origin energies. Chu Kuangren dared not delay and quickly immersed himself in it. This time, the time he spent on the Immortal Scripture was far beyond his imagination. A year later, somewhere in the Wailing Ghost Ridge, a powerful wave of light energy erupted. Lan Yu waved the scepter in her hand and blasted a vengeful spirit into smithereens. After a year of training, she had improved a lot. In addition to the remnant immortal pill that Chu Kuangren gave her before he went into closed-door meditation, she was now a great Taoist master. Lan Yu frowned as she looked at the vengeful spirit that had been blasted to smithereens. She seemed to be dissatisfied with her own power. It's just an ordinary vengeful spirit of a great Tao Lord, yet I had to spend so much time on it. If it was young master, you wouldn't even need to do anything. Just a single thought would be enough to kill him 1,000 times. The current me is too weak. I'm not even a celestial seed giant. How am I supposed to follow young master? Lan Yu took a deep breath and felt a little annoyed. Not far away, Jian Guan slowly walked over and said, "Not everyone is as talented as my lord." Lan Yu, you are not bad among the celestial seeds. Don't be too stubborn. He did not know how to comfort Lan Yu. Not everyone could be as talented as Chu Kuangren. It was not that some people did not work hard. but their achievements were determined by their innate conditions. Lan Yu, on the other hand, was a fairy seed that was limited by his innate conditions. He did not have an immortal physique, nor did he have an immortal bloodline. Although his level of comprehension was not weaker than any other immortal seeds, it was not as abnormal as Chu Kuangren's. The only thing that stood out was perseverance. However, it was difficult to stand out just by relying on perseverance. Is this the only thing I can do? Lan Yu said unwillingly. Her breathing was a little chaotic. Opportunity. Jian Guan took a deep breath. Opportunity. If you have enough opportunities, you might be able to soar to the sky. In the immortal realm, there was no lack of such examples. An ordinary cultivator suddenly became a dazzling sky-pride cultivator with some kind of opportunity, becoming the envy of others. However, such opportunities were too rare. It's an opportunity. Lan Yu murmured. The term opportunity was too vague. Who knew if it would happen in this lifetime? She seemed to have thought of something and looked into the distance. What's wrong? Jian Guan asked curiously. I don't know either. But lately, I've been having an inexplicable throbbing in my heart. It's as if there's an inexplicable calling from afar. Jian Guan was stunned. An inexplicable calling? Could it be that you're too eager for power, causing your mind to be restless? Jian Guan said in a roundabout way. Lan Yu rolled her eyes. Although I'm a little eager, I can tell if it's an illusion or not. She pointed in a direction in the distance. That calling is very real. It came from that direction a few days ago. Could it be that there's really an opportunity calling for you? Jian Guan asked with a strange expression. Did this fortuitous encounter come so easily? Wasn't her luck a little too good? A child of fortune? At this time, Qing Feng and the little fox also walked over. They were carrying a pile of elixirs and broken immortal weapons. There were many treasures in the Crying Ghost Ridge. Some places had a large number of natural seals, making it difficult to enter. However, this was not a problem for the little fox. Her abilities allowed her to come and go as she pleased. This year, she was the one who obtained the most treasures. What are you two talking about? About opportunity. Lan Yu told him what she had sensed. Sometimes, when a cultivator has a sudden urge, they can sense things happening in the dark. Perhaps there really is a great opportunity waiting for Lan Yu. It's just that the young master hasn't come out yet. Should we wait a little longer? Qing Feng said. Opportunities are fleeting. How can we wait? Lan Yu, I'll go with you. The little fox said eagerly. Lan Yu hesitated. At this moment, the cave that Chu Kuangren was in suddenly shook violently. A terrifyingly powerful emperor's qi swept out. The emperor's qi stunned Jinguan. What a pure emperor's qi! The young master hasn't gone through the 3 disasters and 9 tribulations, but how can his emperor's qi be so terrifying? What did he do? Even Jinguan was puzzled. It's the young master. The young master has come out. Lan Yu and the other ladies were overjoyed. At this moment, a few more powerful origin energies erupted in the cave. They were even more terrifying than the emperor's qi. An origin that was filled with dense killing qi. An origin that was filled with killing intent. An origin that was filled with dense vitality. An origin that was filled with the origin of life. An origin that was filled with the intent of nirvana sent chills down one's spine. It was the origin of death. An origin that was illusory and difficult to comprehend. It was the origin of time and space. 4 different origin energies circulated, causing the entire area to shake violently. The Wailing Ghost Ridge's wraiths could not help but tremble. An origin that has never been seen before. Is this the new origin energy that the young master has comprehended? And this fluctuation is terrifying. Qing Feng said in shock. Then, a scene that shocked her even more appeared. Inside the cave, a peerless white-robed figure shrouded in divine radiance slowly walked out. Beside him was an ancient bronze mirror that floated in the air. The ancient mirror radiated with an infinite amount of power. The mirror's surface flashed as if it could break through the stars and mountains. Qing Feng was dumbfounded when she saw that ancient mirror. That's the Green Phoenix mirror. How's that possible? Wasn't the Green Phoenix mirror supposed to only be activated by the Green Phoenix? How could Chu Kuangren use it? Those surges of origin energy. Could it be that he has already comprehended the immortal scripture in the ancient mirror? Qing Feng gasped. That was the Jade Lake immortal scripture. The immortal scripture that was cultivated by the Queen Mother of the West. Chapter 957. The Jade Lake celestial scripture is indeed powerful. Even though it's only a fragment, it allowed me to comprehend the origin of slaughter, the origin of longevity, and the origin of death. These three powerful origin powers. In addition to my sudden inspiration, my comprehension of the time and space mirror, and my understanding of the origin energy of time and space, I now have a total of 13 origin energies. Coupled with the new Emperor's essence that I've evolved from cultivating the Jade Lake immortal scripture, I'm very, very powerful. Chu Kuangren murmured as he sensed the power within his body. The Queen Mother of the West was the leader of all the female immortals in the legends of the immortal world. She was in charge of punishment and death, plagues and diseases, and life and death. Chu Kuangren had mastered the Jade Pond immortal scripture, which allowed him to control the origin of life, the origin of slaughter, and the origin of death. After that, he comprehended the time and space treasure mirror on a whim, from which he gained control of the time and space origin. In addition to the poison origin, he gained control of a total of 5 new origin powers, which was enough to raise his strength to another level. This time's closed-door cultivation could be said to be fruitful. He gradually retracted his origin energy. Qing Feng walked over and looked at the Cyan Luan mirror beside him. His eyes were a little sluggish. How do you control the Cyan Luan mirror? If I want to use it, I can use it any time. Chu Kuangren kept it. Qing Feng was still confused. One must know that the only bargaining chip she could use to get Chu Kuangren to send her back to Mount Wutong was the Jade Lake immortal scripture in the Green Phoenix mirror. However, now that Chu Kuangren had comprehended the Jade Lake immortal scripture and mastered the Green Phoenix mirror, her only bargaining chip was gone. Don't worry, I won't go back on my words when I send you back to Mount Wutong. Chu Kuangren seemed to have noticed Qing Feng's worry and said calmly. Thank you, young master. Qing Feng heaved a sigh of relief. She was not afraid that Chu Kuangren would go back on his words. Since he was now in a dominant position and had all the chips in his hands, there was no need for him to lie to her. By the way, boss, Lan Yu mentioned that there was an opportunity. The little fox suddenly said. Oh, opportunity? Tell me about it. Chu Kuangren's interest was piqued. Lan Yu told him what she was feeling. Interesting. Since that's the case, let's go and take a look. In any case, he still had to temper himself in the immortal ancient battlefield. Immortal ancient battlefield. Somewhere. A large number of immortal seeds and prodigies' corpses covered the ground. A figure stood at the center of the corpses. This person wore a white monk's robe, and his face was handsome and peaceful. However, there were 2 strange blood-colored Buddha statues floating around him, and they were filled with strange fluctuations. This person was the little holy monk of Jinshan Temple, Hui Effet. These 2 resentful Buddhas have finally been activated. Hui Fa said indifferently. His figure flickered and vanished from where he was, leaving behind only corpses that he had killed and drained of their blood essence. Hui Fa came to a mountain. There were 2 figures standing at the peak of the mountain. Of the 2, one of them had flames of various colors swirling around his body. The scorching temperature caused the void to distort. The aura was so strong that it seemed like it could turn everything in the world into ashes. The other side. It was a young man holding a dark red spear. The young man stood on the spot, his figure tall and straight. Just like the spear in his hand, he emitted an aura that could pierce through the heavens. Fellow Taoists, how have you been? Huifa, are you done with your business? The spear-wielding youth, Wu Wuji, asked. Hui Fa smiled faintly. Let's go then. I heard that an ancient orthodoxy's ruins have appeared in the immortal ancient battlefield. Perhaps we can explore it. Huo Shenhuang, who was burning with divine flames, said with a cold look in his eyes. Perhaps Chu Kuangren will make a move as well. Upon hearing Chu Kuangren's name, the other two also had cold looks in their eyes. A year ago, Hui Fa found the two of them and told them that he wanted to join forces to deal with Chu Kuangren. The three of them hit it off immediately and had been working together for a year. I've improved a lot in this year. With the help of various opportunities of fortune in the immortal ancient battlefield, I've passed the second and third tribulations of the 3 disasters and 9 tribulations. My strength has increased tremendously. With these 2 resentful Buddhas, Chu Kuangren, if we meet again, I'll definitely let you have a taste of defeat. Hui Fa thought to himself. Chu Kuangren has killed the Divine Flame sect's divine disciples one after another. This matter is absolutely irreconcilable. If we meet again, I'll burn him to ashes with these divine flames. I heard that this person can even use the phoenix flames. Perhaps I can get the secret of using the phoenix flames from him. Hua Shenhuang said with anticipation. Compared to the phoenix flames, the divine flames that he had were much weaker. If he could get the secret of using the phoenix flames, it would be like adding wings to a tiger. Can these divine flames of yours defeat the phoenix flames? Wu Wuji said. The phoenix flames may be strong, but it depends on the user. Chu Kuangren isn't a cultivator who specializes in fire attributes. Besides, these divine flames may not be a match for the phoenix flames, but it might not be the case if they're combined. Hua Shenhuang said. The few divine flames swirled in his palm. It was beautiful, but it contained an extremely violent power. The other two's eyes lit up. The divine flame combination technique is interesting. Wu Wuji said with interest. Let's go. Let's go take a look at the ancient orthodoxy's ruins. The 3 figures flashed and turned into streams of light as they flew into the distance. There were countless opportunities of fortune in the celestial ancient battlefield. Recently, another great opportunity of fortune happened. An ancient orthodoxy's ruins were excavated, and many people went to explore it. An ancient orthodoxy's ruins. A large number of sky prides and immortal seeds were searching for opportunities of fortune. Some found immortal metals, some found jade scrolls that recorded immortal techniques, and some found fragments of immortal weapons. This ancient scroll looks good. Suddenly, a soft voice was heard. A green-robed man found an ancient scroll in a dilapidated pavilion. The surrounding cultivators' eyes lit up when they saw the ancient scroll. I wonder if there's any immortal techniques recorded in that ancient scroll. He's alone. Some of the cultivators already had malicious intentions in their eyes. Whoosh! A few figures dashed towards the green-robed man. The cultivators were already used to such a scene. Killing and robbing was a common occurrence in the celestial ancient battlefield. It's a shame that they've found the wrong person. One of the cultivators lamented. As soon as he finished speaking, the green-robed man waved his hand and a majestic emperor's chi surged out, sending the few cultivators flying. His powerful strength shocked everyone present. So powerful! Who's this? Who is he? Gu Lufang from the 100 Clan Academy. Someone said softly. Hearing this name, everyone could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. Gu Lufang, one of the 12 immortal rulers of the younger generation. That's right, it's him. The 100 Clan Academy is one of the oldest forces in the Qinglan immortal realm. They are known to educate everyone without discrimination. The academy gathers cultivators from all kinds of races. Gu Lufang is the most outstanding immortal seed in the academy. Rumor has it that he has already stepped onto the path of immortality. Everyone looked at the green-robed man, Gu Lufang, with respect. After Gu Lufang flipped through the ancient scroll, he smiled in satisfaction and said, "This ancient scroll records the customs and traditions of various places in the immortal realm. Not bad, not bad. To be able to obtain this scroll, this trip was not in vain." Everyone was startled. This ancient scroll was just like that? It only recorded some customs and traditions. Chapter 958. In the Ruins of an Ancient Orthodoxy. Chu Kuangren brought Lan Yu and the others here. Looking at the ruins, Chu Kuangren used the spirit of omniscience, Xiao AI, to analyze it and obtained a lot of information. An ancient ruin from 129,600 years ago? Wow, that's quite a long history. Chu Kuangren took a deep breath and said, "This orthodoxy must have perished during the immortal ancient war." Since the immortal ancient war could be traced back to the previous era, it made sense for it to have such a long history. It's not easy for this orthodoxy to still have its ruins preserved after such a long time. Chu Kuangren looked at the ruins around him. Although there were broken walls everywhere and it was extremely run down. However, he could still see that the materials used in the surrounding buildings were extraordinary, and there were even quite a few immortal-grade materials. However, with the passage of time, most of them had lost their power, and the Taoist patterns on them were mostly broken. "Lan Yu, is this where you sensed it?" Chu Kuangren looked at Lan Yu and asked. The main reason they came here was because Lan Yu sensed that the mysterious summoning was coming from this place. "Yes, but I can't sense its exact location. Perhaps we'll only know when we get closer." Lan Yu said, "All right, there's no hurry. Let's explore this place for now. Let me see what treasures there are here." He used his mind power. His majestic mind power whizzed out and covered half of the ruins. Suddenly, Chu Kuangren noticed that there were a few broken seals not far away from him. Curious, he led the group over to them. The seal was located in a dilapidated pavilion. There were some scattered pages here. It seemed like this was a library that stored all kinds of books. Chu Kuangren looked around curiously and could not help but sigh when he saw the pages on the ground. What a shame. These books may have recorded some things from the immortal realm, but they've all been destroyed over the years. He could only collect some broken pages. At that moment, he saw a man in a green robe who was also collecting these pages with a look of pity on his face. Chu Kuangren glanced at him. The man looked back at him too. Their eyes met. Then he nodded slightly as a greeting. "Interesting. I didn't expect to meet someone who cherishes books as much as I do," Gu Lufang murmured. Chu Kuangren tidied up the book with a playful smile on his face. "King of the immortal seeds of the 100 academies. From Xiao AI's analysis, this person's strength is above that Hui Fa." He no longer cared about them. He looked at the pages in his hands and read out some of the information on them. East Emperor Immortal Court, Celestial Court of Haotian. Beside her, Gu Lufang also read out a name. The two of them turned around and looked at each other. "Fellow Taoist, why don't we borrow each other's books?" Gu Lufang said. Chu Kuangren nodded slightly. "Sure." The two of them put the pages together and obtained some information about the complete immortal world from these pages. Among them, the two words Immortal Court appeared the most frequently, and in front of the Immortal Court, the two words Eastern Emperor and Haotian were often added. The East Emperor Immortal Court and the Celestial Court of Haotian are the two legendary immortal courts of the ancient immortal world, Gu Lufang said. It mentioned that the East Emperor Immortal Court and the Celestial Court of Haotian were the two legendary immortal courts of the ancient immortal world, Gu Lufang said. "There's too little information to judge. There's too little information to judge." Gu Lufang shook his head and said. Then he looked at Chu Kuangren and smiled. "I'm Gu Lufang of the 100 Academies. May I know your name?" "Chu Kuangren." "Chu Kuangren?" Gu Lufang murmured before his eyes lit up. "Chu Kuangren, it's you. I've heard a lot about you." He had heard a lot about Chu Kuangren's name recently. The few of them conversed for a while. Unlike the other immortal seeds, Gu Lufang did not reject Chu Kuangren's identity as an outsider. He behaved naturally. Just as the two of them were conversing, a violent energy fluctuation suddenly came from afar as if someone was fighting. Chu Kuangren and the others went over to have a look. They saw two people fighting, and both of them were incredibly powerful. They were two celestial seed kings. The surrounding cultivators did not dare to get close and quickly retreated. "Oh, it's him." Chu Kuangren was slightly surprised to see one of them because that person was the young master of the Sword Burial Sea, the Saber King. The other person was an outsider. Moreover, his outsider's aura was very strong, not any weaker than Chu Kuangren's. It was obvious that he had entered the Azure Orchid Immortal world around the same time as him. Oh, I didn't expect that apart from Brother Chu, there's also a Celestial Seed King here. Gu Lufeng was surprised. Not only him, but the other immortal seeds were also surprised. Celestial Seed Kings were rare. An outsider Celestial Seed King was even rarer, but recently, 2 Celestial Seed King level Sky Prides had appeared. Chu Kuangren chuckled and looked at the outsider Celestial Seed King. It was a young man with a long sword in his hand. When he swung the long sword, a terrifying sword ray covered the sky. It's a swordsman. No wonder the Saber King has his eyes on him. This person's technique? Chu Kuangren looked at the young man with a strange look in his eyes. He felt that the young man's immortal technique was familiar. It was an immortal technique that could affect one's mind. It was the illusory 7 emotions song. This was the first immortal technique that Chu Kuangren had mastered. It was also an immortal technique that was left behind in the firmament star by an immortal known as the Ancient Immortal. Chu Kuangren had met him before when he traveled through the River of Time. Is this person related to the Ancient Immortal? Chu Kuangren used Xiao AI to analyze the young man. His name was Gu Wuqing. His surname was Gu? A descendant of the Ancient Immortal? Boom! A loud explosion was heard. Gu Wuqing was forced back by the Saber King's attack and crashed onto the ground. He let out a sigh as his aura weakened. Although he was also a Celestial Seed King, he was no match for the Saber King. Although your sword technique is strange and can affect my mind, it's a shame that you're still no match for me. The Saber King laughed before a cold, murderous intent shot out from his eyes. Outsider, you can only blame yourself for being a swordsman. He raised his hand and gathered his Emperor's Chi before unleashing a powerful slash. A huge and domineering saber shadow slashed down from the sky. The surrounding cultivators watched the scene. Some felt sorry that a Celestial Seed King was about to fall, while others were gloating. No one wanted to stop it. After all, Gu Wuqing was just an outsider. Just when Gu Wuqing was about to be killed by the saber shadow, a figure suddenly appeared in front of him. It was a slender figure dressed in white. Facing the domineering saber shadow that was slashing down, his expression remained calm. That person gently raised his hand and casually struck out. The Emperor's Chi circulated and a terrifying fist ray exploded like a tsunami, instantly shattering the saber shadow. The surrounding cultivators were dumbfounded by the scene. The Saber King's eyes narrowed. It's you! Chapter 959. It's you! The Saber King's pupils dilated when he saw who it was. This white-robed young man was none other than Chu Kuangren. The reason he attacked was because of the Ancient Immortal. He had learned one of the Ancient Immortal's immortal techniques, and they had a friendly sparring session. He could not sit back and watch as the Ancient Immortal's descendant was killed. This person is under my protection. Chu Kuangren waved his sleeves and said. The crowd was shocked. This person's strength is impressive. I can't believe he could easily block the Saber King's attack. It looks like he's also a Celestial Seed King. Indeed, he's also an outsider. Other than Gu Wuqing, there's only one other Celestial Seed King who has risen in fame recently. Could it be him? The crowd discussed as if they were waiting for a good show. The Saber King was also surprised by Chu Kuangren's appearance. I didn't expect Hui Fa to fail to kill you. Fine, I've been wanting to see your strength since a year ago. Since you're here to die, bring it on. The Saber King said coldly. The black long saber in his hand vibrated continuously as a powerful saber ray circulated within it. Its domineering aura shrouded the void. Everyone knew that the Saber King's attack would be earth-shattering. One move. Chu Kuangren raised a finger and said, You only have one chance. Make the most of it. You flatter me. The Saber King's eyes were cold. He leaped into the air and raised the long saber in his hand. A gigantic black saber shadow formed in the air. Tyrant Saber Technique, 8 Baron Dominator. The Saber King swung his saber, and the peerless saber shadow descended. The saber's power was enough to shatter a star. The entire void was shaking violently. Chu Kuangren stood still. His expression did not change in the slightest as he faced the peerless saber attack. He did not even unsheath the sword at his waist. As he focused his sword fingers, Taoist patterns and Emperor's Qi intertwined at his fingertips, forming a purple sword Qi. Then, multiple surges of origin energy were added to it. The sword slashed out as if it was going to tear the universe apart. The sword Qi and the saber shadow collided. The entire ancient orthodoxy site was shocked. Then, the sword Qi crushed the saber shadow like a hot knife through butter and headed towards the Saber King. The Saber King could not help but be shocked. How is this possible? Being locked on by the sword aura, he had nowhere to run. The threat of death, which was far stronger than the one he had felt in the resentful Buddha enchantment, enveloped him instantly. His scalp went numb, and his entire body trembled. I will die. No! He roared and activated the power of the celestial bloodline in his body. He slashed out again, but even so, he was still sent flying. He smashed into a building and was buried in the dust. Only a weak aura was left. Oh my God! What kind of strength is this? How long has this woman been alive? No, this woman doesn't have any signs of life. She's already dead. This fluctuation is immortal consciousness. Oh my God, even after being dead for so many years, there's still some immortal consciousness left. Just how powerful was this person when she was alive? A powerhouse among the immortals. One of the strongest in the entire immortal realm. Everyone looked at the woman and began to discuss among themselves. Their eyes gradually burned with passion. This woman definitely had a great opportunity of fortune on her. Just this physical body alone that still had immortal consciousness was already an extremely rare treasure. It was even more valuable than an immortal weapon. A pair of wings on her back. Could she be a winged human from the immortal realm? I think so. Who cares about her? Let's take this physical body first. Everyone immediately rushed towards the winged human from the immortal realm. However, there was an invisible force field surrounding the winged human. Some of the immortal seeds were repelled before they could even get close. This immortal still has some residual energy. How is this possible? She's already been dead for an era, yet she still has some residual energy. Isn't this a little too crazy? What kind of existence was she when she was alive? Everyone could not help but gulp. Looking at the woman in the cocoon of light, their eyes were filled with respect. However, this also made them desire this body even more. Once they grasped the power within, they would definitely soar into the sky. Everyone work together and break this force field. One of the immortal seeds said. Immediately, everyone made their move. However, no matter how much they used their power, they could not break it. At this moment, two rays of fiery light flew over. They were a young man and woman in luxurious red robes. Their bodies were filled with extremely powerful flames, and their might shook the entire place. Everyone's expression changed when they saw these two people. That's the Phoenix Son and Phoenix Daughter of Wutong Mountain. They actually appeared. The Phoenix Son and Phoenix Daughter were the kings of Wutong Mountain's immortal seeds. However, they were not included in the list of the 12 kings of immortal seeds. This was because they had never roamed the immortal realm before and were not very famous. It was only when the immortal ancient battlefield opened that these two began to appear and display extremely terrifying combat strength. Chapter 960. The appearance of Mount Wudong's Phoenix and Phoenix Lady shocked everyone. Chu Kuangren could not help but stare at them. After all, it was his first time seeing other phoenixes other than Little Red. At the same time, he analyzed it with Xiao AI. Phoenix Lady, Feng Shangyun, and Phoenix Lady, Huang Inhong. These are divine beasts. It's my first time seeing one. Tiski, their aura is indeed extraordinary. The crowd discussed among themselves. Beside Chu Kuangren, Qing Feng was surprised to see Feng Shangyun and Huang Inhong. It's them. Oh, you know them? Yes, but not too well, Qing Feng said. She was also from Mount Wutong, so she had met the Phoenix and Phoenix Lady before. Chu Kuangren nodded and ignored her. At that moment, Feng Shangyun and Feng Shangyun were already preparing to break through the immortal force field. However, even with their celestial seed ruler's strength, they still could not get close to the light cocoon. Even a celestial seed ruler can't do anything about it. Looks like there's nothing we can do. Only an immortal can do it. It can't be. The opportunity of fortune is right in front of us, but we can only watch. Isn't this too hard to bear? The crowd said in dismay. At that moment, Lan Yu, who was beside Chu Kuangren, looked at the white light cocoon and suddenly said, "Master, I'd like to try." Chu Kuangren pondered for a while. "Are you confident? I feel like this person is summoning me. She gives me a very familiar feeling," Lan Yu said. "All right then. Follow your heart." Chu Kuangren nodded. He also got the sword crown ready. If there were any changes, it would immediately break this immortal force field. Perhaps the winged lady's strength was far above the sword crowns when she was alive, but she had died for an era after all. Her remaining strength could not stop the sword crown. Lan Yu walked towards the light cocoon. A great Taoist master? Pfft, even a celestial seed ruler can't do anything. What can a mere great Taoist master do? I'm afraid he'll be repelled before he even gets close. The crowd sneered. But what happened next left them dumbfounded. Lan Yu stepped into the invisible force field and was not repelled at all. She could move freely in the force field. What's going on? How did she do it? Everyone looked on in disbelief. Even Phoenix and Phoenix could not help but narrow their eyes as they stared at Lan Yu. Following that, Lan Yu passed through the force field and arrived in front of the cocoon of light. She looked at the cocoon of light and raised her hand to press on it. At once, the light cocoon shone brightly and enveloped Lan Yu. Xiao AI, analyze Lan Yu's condition. Is there any danger? Chu Kuangren said. Analyzing. Lan Yu is currently accepting the inheritance. There is no danger. Don't worry, Master, Xiao AI said. That's good. Chu Kuangren heaved a sigh of relief. However, the sudden abnormality caused the crowd to burst into an uproar. Everyone stared at the cocoon of light, trying to guess what had happened. After a while, the cocoon of light slowly dissipated into countless specks of light. A figure appeared. It was Lan Yu. At this moment, her entire body was enveloped in a white radiance. Countless mysterious Tao patterns interweaved, making her look incomparably holy. What's going on? What about the immortal body? Her aura has changed greatly. Could it be that this was done by that immortal? Could this opportunity have been stolen by this outsider? D****. The crowd looked at Lan Yu with jealousy and hatred. Some of them had already taken out their weapons. Since they could not directly obtain the opportunity of fortune from the immortal, they could only target Lan Yu. The immortal has disappeared, yet this outsider's aura has changed so much. She must have obtained an opportunity of fortune. How can an outsider like her deserve such an opportunity of fortune? I will not allow this. That's right. Let her hand over the opportunity of fortune. As the winged human lady's body disappeared, the invisible force field also dissipated. Many people immediately stared at Lan Yu. However, some cultivators had already made their moves. A figure flew towards Lan Yu and reached out his hand to grab her. How dare you! A cold snort was heard. An extremely violent energy erupted and the cultivator who attacked was instantly blasted into a cloud of blood mist. Chu Kuangren slowly walked to Lan Yu's side. His slender and straight body was like an impenetrable and indestructible wall. With me here, who dares touch her? Chu Kuangren's cold voice swept across the crowd. Some cultivators' expressions changed as they looked at Chu Kuangren with fear. The scene of Chu Kuangren defeating the Saber King with a single move was still fresh in their minds. Not many dared to provoke him. However, there were exceptions. Feng Zi from Wutong Mountain was one of them. He could not miss out on an opportunity of fortune from the previous era. Even if it was Chu Kuangren who stood in front of him, he would still fight for it. Let me have a taste of the strength of a human sage ruler, Feng Shangyun said. He took a step forward as the flames on his body burned brightly. It then turned into a majestic wave of fire that swept out. "That's the phoenix flames," the crowd exclaimed and could not help but retreat a distance away. On the other hand, Chu Kuangren, who was the target of the phoenix flames, stood still on the spot, allowing the phoenix flames to engulf him. Just as the phoenix flames landed on his body, a golden red flame flashed, and the phoenix flames on his body erupted in an even more violent and powerful manner. The phoenix flames collided with the phoenix flames. The surrounding void was almost distorted. Feng Shangyun's expression changed because his phoenix flames were suppressed by his opponent. He could not help but retreat a few meters. "Phoenix flames? So you're the outsider who can use the phoenix flames, and your phoenix flames are even stronger than mine." Feng Shangyun's eyes were filled with shock. It was already unbelievable for a human to be able to use the phoenix flames. And it was even stronger than his phoenix flames. What was this? Only a phoenix with the purest bloodline can use the phoenix flames like that. Is this guy a human or a godly phoenix? Huang Yinghong was also in disbelief. "Phoenix lady, let's attack together," Feng Shangyun said coldly. "A human who can control the phoenix flames must not be allowed to live." "All right." Huang Yinghong's expression was solemn as well. Stop. At that moment, Qing Feng appeared and stopped both of them. He said, "This person is my friend, Feng Shangyun. Don't be rude to him." The two phoenixes were stunned when they saw Qing Feng. "You're the young clan leader?" Huang Yinghong said in shock. "Young clan leader? Why is that useless young clan leader who has been missing for years here?" Feng Shangyun said directly. Qing Feng's expression darkened when he heard that. "How dare you? Phoenix lady, don't be rude." Huang Yinghong frowned and said. She then looked at Qing Feng and quickly walked up to him, bowing slightly. "Greetings, young clan leader." Not far away, Chu Kuangren smiled playfully. "I knew you were no ordinary person. So you're the young clan leader of Mount Udon. I'm sorry, I've hidden something from you." Qing Feng smiled apologetically. "It's fine." Chu Kuangren did not take it to heart. "Young clan leader, your bloodline." Huang Yinghong noticed Qing Feng's strange behavior and became curious. "We'll talk about this later. Master Chu is my friend, I won't allow you to harm him," Qing Feng said to both of them. Chapter 961. This, Huang Yinghong was a little hesitant. Feng Shangyun said coldly, "A human wielding the phoenix fire is unprecedented. We can't let him live, and we can't miss the opportunity of fortune on that lady either." "Are you going to ignore my order?" Qing Feng said coldly. "You're just a useless young clan leader who isn't favored by the clan. Do you think you have the right to order me around?" Feng Shangyun said coldly. "Enough, young Feng. Don't cross the line." Huang Yinghong stopped him. Beside them, Chu Kuangren was deep in thought when he saw that. It seemed like Qing Feng's situation at Wutong Mountain was not that good. I won't give up." Feng Shangyun leaped into the air with flames burning around him, turning the void into a sea of fire. Huang Yinghong hesitated for a while but did not attack. Chu Kuangren, on the other hand, stood in front of Lan Yu and said indifferently, "Who else wants this opportunity of fortune? Come at me together." He waved his sleeves and a majestic emperor's chi spread. The ground and the void trembled. "Ha, Chu Kuangren, I've been waiting to meet you." A figure covered in flames of various colors flew towards them from afar, and the aura of a celestial seed ruler instantly swept across the area. That person was dressed in a red robe and had a majestic physique. He controlled all kinds of flames like a flame deity. "It's him, the first god's disciple of the divine flame Ming cult, Huoshen Huang." The crowd exclaimed. "Chu Kuangren, you've killed the ancient Sparrow City Lord and Heaven Luo City Lord of my sage capital. I'll make you pay for this." A cold voice was heard. A man in silver armor with a dark red spear in his hand walked towards them with his head held high. His majestic ferocious chi swept across the area. Sage Capital Spear Crown's personal disciple, Wu-wuji. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Rays of light flew towards them. It was the divine flame Ming cult's disciples and sage capital's enforcers. They had completely surrounded the area. The crowd could not help but be shocked. F***CK what a lineup. The divine flame Ming cult's disciples and first god's disciple are here. Not to mention the spear crown's personal disciple and the sage capital's enforcers. Who among the younger generation can withstand these two forces? Even if it's an immortal seed king, only death awaits it. Chu Kuangren remained calm in the face of such a lineup. He looked into the void not far away. They've already come out. Are you still going to hide it? Jinshan Temple's Huefa. Ripples appeared in the void. A white-robed monk then walked out of the void and looked at Chu Kuangren with a smile. Brother Chu, your senses are indeed extraordinary. I can smell the foul vengeful qi stench on your body from afar. Chu Kuangren pouted and said. Hui Fa's eyes turned cold. Chu Kuangren, now that the divine flame, the sage city, and the Golden Hill Temple have surrounded you, you will definitely die today. A divine son of the divine flame Ming cult said coldly. There's no need to talk to him. Kill him, then capture that silver-haired woman and force her to reveal the secret of the fortuitous encounter. One of the sacred city's law enforcers couldn't hold it in any longer and directly attacked. With a flash of his figure, he instantly disappeared from where he was like a specter. When he reappeared in front of Chu Kuangren, he immediately unleashed his pseudo-immortal power. Chu Kuangren immediately raised his hand and grabbed. In the next instant, his jade-white palm shattered the pseudo-immortal power and directly grabbed onto the sacred city law enforcer's neck. The golden-red phoenix fire whizzed out and the sacred city law enforcer screamed as he was burned into a piece of charcoal. Chu Kuangren casually tossed him aside. Then, his emperor's qi erupted like a raging wave and rushed in all directions. Several surges of origin energy flew out and surrounded his body, causing the surrounding void to tremble. A three-way encirclement? Kill me? Do you think you're qualified to do so? Chu Kuangren said coldly. He focused his sword fingers and suddenly, purple lotuses bloomed in the void. The petals of the lotuses danced in the air, and they were surges of razor-sharp sword qi. The sword qi intertwined and enveloped everyone at the scene. Some of the weaker cultivators were instantly torn apart by the sword qi and turned into a mist of blood. Is this the thousand lotus sword intent? D***it, hurry up and kill him. Two divine flame Ming cult's divine sons instantly attacked. The flames that filled the sky converged and turned into two giant fireballs that smashed towards Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren raised his hand and the phoenix fire gushed out. Fighting fire with fire. The two divine sons were instantly burned to a crisp. Some sacred city enforcers saw how powerful Chu Kuangren was and did not want to fight him head-on. Instead, they turned to attack Lan Yu who was behind him. You're asking for it? A cold glint flashed across Chu Kuangren's eyes. He took a step forward and instantly appeared beside Lan Yu. He unleashed his sword fingers and the sword qi instantly shredded that enforcer into pieces. With a single thought, the heavens and earth shall perish. Chu Kuangren activated his immortal technique and his emperor's qi circulated around his body. Purplish-red light waves continuously spread out with him and Lan Yu at the center. Any cultivator that was hit by the light waves exploded on the spot. All of a sudden, not only the divine sons, but even the enforcers were not spared. Chu Kuangren's peerless combat strength left everyone speechless. His combat strength was terrifying beyond compare. He's definitely on the path to immortal ascension. Not only that, even some half-immortals are not as terrifying as him. Everyone was amazed. Hui Fa, Huishan Huang, and Wu Wuji looked solemn. They knew that Chu Kuangren was strong, but they did not expect him to be this strong. Compared to a year ago, he's much stronger now. Hui Fa said with a serious look. His body doesn't show any signs of being cleansed by the lightning tribulation, but why is his emperor's qi and origin energy so strong? This is too strange. Huishan Huang was confused. No matter what, This person must have a huge secret on him. If we kill him, we'll definitely gain a lot. Wu Wuji said with his eyes lit up. Feng Zi, are you willing to join us in fighting this person? Hui Fa looked at Feng Shangyun. Feng Shangyun nodded. That's what I was thinking. Let's go. Hu Shenhuang was the first to attack. All the divine fires on his body erupted at the same time. It's the Crimson Divine Flame, Netherworld Flame, Oceanic Crystal Flame, and the Bone Spiritual Flame. He's indeed the #1 divine son of the Divine Flame sect. He's so powerful to have mastered so many divine fires. A cultivator who was knowledgeable about divine fires exclaimed. While he was speaking, the divine fires had already reached Chu Kuangren. However, they were blocked by an invisible barrier that kept them 3 meters away from Chu Kuangren. In the void, a purple lotus bloomed. The 1,000 lotus sword intent. Oh, he's only defending and not attacking. Is he protecting the lady behind him? Hu Shenhuang said. This is a good opportunity. Hui Fa's eyes lit up. Great Brahma palm. The Buddhist light around his body bloomed and turned into a golden palm. Flaming phoenix wind piercing strike. Feng Shangyun had also gathered his phoenix fire and transformed it into a razor-sharp sword shadow that pierced through the air. Together with the palm attack, it collided with Chu Kuangren's sword chi barrier, causing the ground around Chu Kuangren to explode and cave in. What a fool. Wu Wuji sneered. He gripped the spear in his hand tightly and thrust it forward. A blood-colored spear ray landed on the sword chi barrier. Several surges of energy attacked at the same time and finally disintegrated the purple lotus. A powerful explosion of energy swept in all directions. At that moment, behind Chu Kuangren, Lan Yu suddenly opened her eyes and a terrifying aura spread out with her as the center. She was no weaker than a celestial seed king. She had already accepted the inheritance. Master, let me help you, Lan Yu said and was about to step forward to help Chu Kuangren. There's no need for you to do anything. Go to the sword crown first. Chu Kuangren said. Lan Yu hesitated for a moment before she nodded. Chu Kuangren, you're still trying to show off at a time like this. Do you think you're capable of fighting 4 people at once? Hu Shenhuang sneered. You're wrong. Chu Kuangren shook his head. Then, an even more terrifying Emperor's Chi spread out with him as the center. It's not 1 against 4, it's 4 against 1. Are you ready? Chu Kuangren waved his sleeves and surges of origin energy seeped out of his body and surrounded him. Like a supreme immortal king, his aura shook the heavens and the earth. Chapter 962. 1 against 4? No, 4 against 1. The 4 celestial seed kings were going all out against Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren stood where he was as the origin energy circulated around him. His celestial aura shone brightly as his domineering aura shook the surrounding void. He stared coldly at the 4 people before him. Come! Everyone could not help but gulp as they sensed the terrifying aura emanating from Chu Kuangren's body. What a terrifying aura! Everyone, let's not hold back anymore. Let's give it our all. Hui Fa said with a serious look. He let out a long roar as the Buddhist light on his body was dyed a layer of crimson red, and a terrifying resentment chi started to circulate around him. The Golden Hill Temple's little sage monk knows such an evil technique? Could this be a technique from the demonic Buddha sect? Everyone's pupils constricted when they saw this. Fire Shenhuang too had a serious look on his face as the divine flames around him began to circulate. There were a total of 4 types of divine flames, and they were all famous flames on the divine flame leaderboard. As the flames intertwined, they began to fuse. An even more violent flame origin domineering aura gushed out. Fight! Wu Wuji snorted as the blood drinker spear in his hand unleashed a terrifying ferocious chi. With a thrust of his spear, a domineering blood-colored spear ray that was filled with destructive chi shot towards Chu Kuangren. That's not enough. Chu Kuangren's descendant self-sword was unsheathed with a clang. He then unleashed a slash. A purple lotus bloomed in the void. The sword chi was like a torrent that shattered the blood-colored spear ray. Wu Wuji's eyes narrowed as he was blasted away by the attack. Flaming Dragon's luminous sun. Fire Shenhuang raised his hand and gathered the surrounding flames. The divine flames roared as the Emperor's Qi and Taoist patterns intertwined to form a ferocious fire dragon. Flaming Phoenix Wind Piercing Strike. Feng Zi and Feng Shangyun attacked as well. A large amount of phoenix flames formed into a fiery red sword shadow that pierced out. Playing with fire? You think you're my match? Chu Kuangren sneered as he raised his hand to summon the phoenix flames that were much stronger than Feng Shangyun's. As the flames collided, the two celestial seed kings were blasted away. Great Brahma Palm. Hui Fa activated the power of the Grudge Buddha on his body. Blood-colored Buddha light condensed into a blood-colored palm print that rose from the sky. The aura of grievance surged and swallowed the heaven and earth. Chu Kuangren slashed out with his sword and instantly broke the giant palm. Swoosh, Chu Kuangren's figure disappeared on the spot. When he reappeared, he was already in front of Feng Shangyun. With an indifferent expression, he raised his hand, and a large amount of phoenix fire swirled in his palm. Not good. Feng Shangyun's expression changed drastically as he circulated his power to the limit. The phoenix flames howled in an attempt to resist Chu Kuangren. However, his strength was far too weak compared to Chu Kuangren's. With just one move, he was blasted by the phoenix flames and suffered the agony of being burned. Feng Shangyun fell onto the ground. A mighty divine beast of fire was screaming in pain from being burnt by the flames. How ironic. Chu Kuangren shifted his gaze to Wu Wuji, who was beside him. He then turned the Descendant Self-Sword in his hand and unleashed the Thousand Lotus Sword intent, unleashing a purple sword ray. Aside from the origin of sword, the attack was also imbued with many other types of origin energy, making it extremely powerful. Blood Drinker Spear, Army Breaker. Wu Wuji's pupils constricted slightly. Then he activated his immortal art. The origin energy was infused into the long spear, and when it was unleashed, the blood-colored spear ray pierced through the air and collided violently with the sword ray. However, due to the difference in their strengths, the sword chi was unstoppable. Wu Wuji let out a scream and was sent flying. If not for the armor on his body, that attack would have killed him on the spot. How is this possible? Seeing that Chu Kuangren had defeated two celestial seed kings in a row, Huo Shenhuang's expression changed drastically. He felt like his head was about to explode. Chu Kuangren's combat strength was much more terrifying than he had imagined. Is this all you've got? Chu Kuangren said indifferently. He looked at Huo Shenhuang with a cold, murderous intent in his eyes. He had not forgotten how the divine flame Ming cult almost killed Lan Yu. D*Eminent Chu Kuangren. I don't believe you're invincible. Huo Shenhuang suppressed the fear in his heart. He roared and channeled his divine flames to the limit. 4 types of divine flames circled around his body and then merged with each other. The divine flame fusion technique. The 4 types of divine flames on Huo Shenhuang's body merged into a colorful fireball. The black netherworld flame, the white bone spirit flame, the red crimson divine flame, and the blue heavenly crystal flame shone brilliantly. Its might was even more terrifying. Just by looking at it from afar, everyone could feel their scalps tingling. Chu Kuangren looked at it with a hint of playfulness in his eyes. He said, 4 types of divine flames. You're a pretty good resource. If his phoenix fire could devour the 4 types of divine flames, his phoenix fire's power would rise to another level and become even more powerful. If you want to devour me, you'll have to take this move of mine first. Huo Shenhuang saw through Chu Kuangren's thoughts and was furious. Then, the aura on his body skyrocketed and the flame origin energy merged into his divine flame. Divine flame, exploding heaven strike. The colorful fireball carried a terrifying power that could burn everything in its path towards Chu Kuangren. Its power almost caused the void to distort. What's so hard about taking this move of yours? Chu Kuangren stood still and let the fireball hit him. Accompanied by a loud explosion, the terrifying colorful flames swept across like a raging wave and spread in all directions, turning the surroundings into a sea of fire. Wherever it passed, Everything was turned into ashes and the ground was melted. Everyone stared at the sea of fire without blinking. Did it work? Did he kill Chu Kuangren with this move? He didn't even try to block such a terrifying power. Instead, he took it head-on. I'm afraid he'll be severely injured even if he doesn't die. This person is too arrogant. Everyone stared at the sea of fire and discussed among themselves. Right when everyone was surprised and bewildered, a strand of powerful emperor energy rose from the ground and swept out. The flames in the surroundings were swept away by the emperor energy, and then a peerless figure that looked down upon the world, and the world was revealed. Chu Kuangren's white robe was spotless. Purple lotuses bloomed around him, and as his sword qi circulated, the surrounding divine flames could not hurt him at all. Now it's my turn. Chu Kuangren raised his hand and pointed at Huo Huang. He said proudly, I can kill you with one sword. As soon as he said that, the purple lotuses around him dispersed and turned into pure sword qi that was injected into the descendant self-sword in Chu Kuangren's hand. The overbearing sword pressure tore the surrounding air apart, and even the spectators who were watching from afar could feel the pain. Chu Kuangren waved his arm, and the purple sword qi wrapped in blooming purple lotuses slashed towards Huo Huang with an unstoppable force. Huo Huang tried his best to block it, but his flames were easily torn apart the moment they came into contact with the sword qi. In the next instant, the sword qi landed on his body. Divine Flame Clone. At that crucial moment, Huo Huang used his clone technique and split his body into two. The Divine Flame Clone stayed behind to withstand the impact of the sword qi, while his real body quickly retreated, trying to escape from the sword qi's range. However, when the sword qi landed on the Divine Flame Clone, it suddenly exploded. Pieces of purple petals swept in all directions, and each petal was wrapped in a sharp and dense sword qi. The Divine Flame Clone was the first to be torn apart, and Huo Huang's real body was not spared either. He was enveloped by the spreading sword qi, and before he could react, thousands of sword qi pierced through his body, turning him into a mist of blood. I've said it before. I'll kill you with one sword, and that's it. Chapter 963. The purple sword light exploded, and the flower petals and sword qi swept out in all directions. Fire Shenhuang died on the spot. Hui Fa, who was slightly further away, and Wu Wuji weren't any better off. They were affected by the sword qi and were forced to retreat in a sorry state. After Huo Shenhuang's death, only his interspatial ring and 4 different colored divine fire seeds were left in the void. Chu Kuangren smirked when he saw that. He walked up to them, raised his hand, and used his phoenix flames to envelop the 4 fire seeds before absorbing them into his body. At this moment, at the side, a powerful energy fluctuation erupted. Feng Shangyun, who was almost burnt to a crisp by the phoenix flames, suddenly unleashed his phoenix flames and engulfed the phoenix flames that belonged to Chu Kuangren. The injuries on his body were also recovering at an extremely fast speed. Oh, this is Nirvana. Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up. The reason why the Phoenix Fire was ranked 3rd on the Divine Fire list, apart from its ability to devour all flames, was its ability to undergo Nirvana. Moreover, after the Phoenix underwent Nirvana, its strength would be greatly enhanced. Chu Kuangren had experienced Nirvana once before. Chu Kuangren, I bet you didn't expect this, did you? I'm a Phoenix, and I can borrow the power of your Phoenix flames to be reborn. I'm even stronger now. Feng Shangyun looked at Chu Kuangren and laughed out loud. The phoenix flames on his body circulated, and the fiery light shone on his handsome face. He stared at Chu Kuangren with a burning murderous intent in his eyes. Kill! He turned into a ray of fiery light and flew towards Chu Kuangren. Every single move he made had unleashed a combat strength that surpassed that of an ordinary false immortal. Hui Fa and Wu Wuji's eyes lit up. 3 against 1, we still have a chance. We might not necessarily lose. The two of them looked at each other and revealed a determined expression. Obviously, they were going to use their trump card. Wu Wuji took out a golden red pill and consumed it. The monarch qi in his body instantly rose by a large margin, and his comprehension of the ferocious chi source also improved significantly. The other side. Hui Fa put his palms together. The blood-colored Buddha light that was mixed with resentment intertwined with Tao patterns. A ferocious-looking Buddha of resentment appeared out of thin air. It was the evil Buddha sect's resentment Buddha avatar. And that was not all. 2 blood-colored flowing lights flew out from Hui Fa's body. They were 2 Buddha statues of the resentful Buddha. The Buddha statue and the Dharma form merged into one. The Dharma form, which originally had 1 head and 2 arms, suddenly became 2 heads and 4 arms, which was even more terrifying. Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up. Very good. You've really collected the remaining 2 resentful Buddha statues for me. Kill. Hui Fa said coldly with an evil look on his face. The image of a little holy monk was long gone. The 3 rulers of the celestial seeds charged towards Chu Kuangren in an even more powerful manner. However, Chu Kuangren swung his long sword with ease. 1 man and 1 sword made the 3 kings of the immortal seeds feel like they didn't know where to start. They couldn't see any hope of victory. Were they surrounding Chu Kuangren to kill him? They felt that Chu Kuangren was trying to kill them. It's time to end this boring battle, Chu Kuangren said coldly, and all 13 surges of origin energy erupted from his body. This scene completely shocked everyone present. Some of them had never seen so much origin energy in their entire lives, let alone all of it gathered in one person's body. Monster! What exactly is his Tao? Why does he have so much origin energy? This guy is too scary. Everyone was dumbfounded. They had never seen anything like this before. A cultivator only had 1 Tao. Therefore, he only had 1 true origin energy. There were also some cultivators who could cultivate other origins to increase their combat strength. However, a person with 13 origin energies. No matter how they thought about it, it was unbelievable. With 13 origin energies surrounding his body, Chu Kuangren's every move had an earth-shattering power. The 3 rulers of the celestial seeds felt an unprecedented pressure, even though they were half-immortals. To have such terrifying combat strength without going through the 3 disasters and 9 tribulations, Master is truly an anomaly in this world. Jian Guan murmured in the crowd. Then he looked into the distance. This battle has caused quite a commotion. I guess those old guys are starting to get restless. His eyes lit up. If that was the case, he could not just sit around. D*MN. I've underestimated him. I can't believe this person's combat strength is so powerful. Hui Fa and the other 2 could not help but be shocked. Even though they had used all their trump cards, they still felt helpless against Chu Kuangren, who had unleashed all 13 origin energies. Even with 4 of you fighting against 1, you're still no match for him, Chu Kuangren said calmly. He raised the long sword in his hand and countless purple lotuses bloomed in the void. Dense sword chi enveloped the entire area. The 3 rulers of the celestial seeds had nowhere to run. Chu Kuangren yelled. Countless sword chi instantly shuttled back and forth in the void. Although the vengeful Buddha avatar was a fusion of 2 vengeful Buddha statues, it was still shattered by the countless sword chi attacks. On the other side, Wu Wuji waved his spear to block the sword chi. However, Chu Kuangren's 1,000 lotus sword intent was endless. No matter how hard he tried to block, the sword chi never stopped. In just 2 breaths' time, Wu Wuji's body was already covered with dozens of wounds. Although Feng Shangyun's nirvana rebirth had greatly increased his strength. Even so, he was still no match for Chu Kuangren's powerful sword techniques. Stop! Just when the 3 rulers of the celestial seeds were in danger, a furious voice came from afar. A majestic immortal's domineering aura enveloped the entire area. The immortal had made his move. Everyone gasped as they stared at Chu Kuangren. From their point of view, Chu Kuangren should have a limit no matter how arrogant he was when an immortal had made his move. It's our Sage City's Grand Elder. And our Golden Hill Temple's Sage Monk. Wu Wuji and Hui Fa were delighted. However, they soon realized that even after the immortal had made his move, Chu Kuangren was still relentless and did not stop his attacks. On the other hand, their momentary distraction had caused them to be severely injured. Everyone was shocked. Chu Kuangren dared to ignore the immortals. Far away, 3 rays of light rushed out from the depths of the celestial ancient battlefield and headed towards the ancient orthodoxy ruins. They wanted to stop or even kill Chu Kuangren. All 3 rays of light were immortals. They were immortals from the Divine Flame Sect, Golden Hill Temple, and Sage City. They were enraged. Every celestial seed magnate was a sky pride that was carefully nurtured by their respective orthodoxies, let alone a ruler of the celestial seeds. And Chu Kuangren was about to kill their ruler of the celestial seeds. He was going to ruin their future as immortals. How could they tolerate that? We must kill this outsider. If I don't kill this person, I won't be able to quell the hatred in my heart. At that moment, a green-robed figure suddenly appeared in front of them. It was an old man with white hair on both sides of his temples. He looked ordinary. However, the 3 immortals stopped in their tracks at the same time. They looked at the green-robed old man with their eyes narrowed in shock. Jianguan? Why are you here? Jianguan was one of the 7 crowns of the Green Orchid Immortal Realm. He was also the top sword immortal of this immortal realm in the past. It doesn't matter why I'm here. What's important is that you can't continue on this path, Jianguan said. You want to protect Chu Kuangren? The Divine Flame Sect's immortal said coldly. Yes. Chapter 964. Yes. That one word was accompanied by a towering sword intent that swept across the sky. Green lotuses blossomed with sword crown at the center. In the blink of an eye, a 1,000-kilometer radius had turned into a sea of flowers. The 3 immortals' expressions changed when they saw that. Is this the power of Sword Crown, one of the 7 crowns? That's impossible. I heard that Sword Crown was already crippled by Sword Crown. How can he still have such powerful strength? What the hell is going on? The 3 immortals looked at each other in confusion. Among them, the Divine Flame Church's immortal had a strange look in his eyes. Then, a flame burned in his palm. Let me test him first. Immortal core surged as he struck out with his palm. An extremely domineering flaming palm was unleashed. Sword Crown stood still with a calm expression. Before the immortal sword was unleashed, sword chi automatically gathered at the tip of his finger. With a wave of his hand, a huge sword chi stirred the sea of flowers and slashed out. The sword chi broke through the flaming palm and headed towards the immortal. It was just one move, but the Divine Flame Church's immortal could not help but narrow his eyes. His face was filled with unprecedented fear. He roared and channeled all his strength to block that move. But it was useless. With a loud ripping sound, the Divine Flame Church's immortal's arm was forcefully cut off. His immortal blood splattered all over the ground. The ground was burned into a sea of fire by the boiling blood. He cut off my arm with one move. His strength has really recovered. Sword Crown is a 9th grade common immortal. We're only 3 lower grades. We're no match for him. Retreat. The Sage City's immortal said coldly. In the ancient Taoist orthodoxy ruins, Wu Wuji, Hui Fa, and the others could not help but feel shocked when they sensed the immortals retreating. They looked at Chu Kuangren in disbelief. The immortals retreated. Chu Kuangren has a powerful background. Isn't he an outsider? How can he be so powerful that even the immortals retreated? My God, this person's background is not ordinary. The crowd discussed among themselves. Hui Fa and Wu Wuji, on the other hand, fell into despair. Even the immortals retreated. Who else could save them? The sword chi shuttled back and forth in the void. The grudge Buddha Dharma form shattered into pieces, and the 2 grudge Buddhas fell to the ground. Hui Fa was minced into a bloody mist by the sword chi. Wu Wuji wouldn't be able to escape either. Chu Kuangren, you can't kill me. I'm from the Wutong Mountain, and the Wutong Mountain is a clan of divine beasts. You can't even begin to imagine how powerful we are. If you dare to kill me, you'll be making an enemy out of our Wutong Mountain, Feng Shangyun quickly said. I can kill the Divine Fire Ming cult's immortal seed, the Holy City's immortal seed, and the Golden Mountain Temple's immortal seed. Do you think that I will care about Wutong Mountain? Chu Kuangren's expression was cold. The purple lotus sword flashed through the void, killing Feng Shangyun on the spot. Now, can your phoenix fire still save you? Chu Kuangren sneered. The crowd looked at Chu Kuangren in horror. The 4 major celestial seed kings had joined forces, but they were all defeated by Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren's combat strength was beyond their imagination. According to the immortal ascension path of 3 disasters and 9 tribulations, Chu Kuangren should be a 7th tribulation or even an 8th tribulation cultivator. But why aren't there any signs of lightning tribulation on his body? I can't figure it out. The spectators were discussing. After this battle, Chu Kuangren's name would spread throughout the entire Green Orchid immortal realm. He had single-handedly killed 4 celestial kings. No other celestial seed had ever achieved such a feat, not to mention a foreign celestial seed. Chu Kuangren retracted the origin energy within his body and kept the 2 grudge Buddhas and the other items away. Then he returned to Lan Yu and the others. However, Huang Yinghong, who was beside Qing Feng, looked at him cautiously. After all, he had just killed a phoenix child. Chu Kuangren did not mind. If Huang Yinghong dared to attack him, he would not mind killing him as well. After all, it was not a difficult thing to do. Not long after, Jingguan had returned too. Is it done? Chu Kuangren asked casually. It's done. Jingguan nodded slightly. Done? Forget it, you've just recovered from your injuries. It's not easy for you to defeat them. I don't expect you to bring back a few immortal corpses anyway. Chu Kuangren said calmly. Jingguan's mouth twitched when he heard that. Immortal corpses? Were immortals that easy to kill? I'll try next time, Jingguan said. Chu Kuangren said no more. Immortals? Compared to letting Jingguan kill one, he would rather kill one himself. However, Chu Kuangren knew very well that it was not realistic for him to kill an immortal with his current strength. Perhaps it would be possible if he gained more insights into the origin energy. There's nothing left to search in this ancient orthodoxy's ruins. Let's leave, Chu Kuangren said. Master. At that moment, Qing Feng hesitantly said to Chu Kuangren, I'd like to return to Wutong Mountain with Yinghong first. Chu Kuangren was not surprised to hear that. Sure. Then, we'll meet again if fate allows it. Qing Feng looked at Chu Kuangren with a complicated gaze. Although they had not known each other for a long time and nothing unforgettable had happened between them, this person seemed to be unforgettable to her. Perhaps this was his natural charisma. Some people were born with the ability to impress others. All right. Chu Kuangren nodded slightly and bade farewell to Qing Feng. Since he had already mastered the Green Phoenix physique and learned the Jade Lake Immortal Scripture, she was of no use to him. Wutong Mountain? Maybe I can go there if I have the chance. Lil Hong has also come to the Green Orchid Immortal world, but there's no news of her. Maybe there'll be some clues there. Besides Chu Hong, there was also Yin Honghua. He had to find some time to find out more about these 2 women. When he left, Chu Kuangren glanced at Gu Wuqing and Gu Lufeng. Gu Wuqing cupped his fists and said, Brother, I'll never forget your kindness. I'll definitely repay you someday. Gu Wuqing was a little embarrassed to say that. Gu Wuqing had saved his life, but he had no way to repay him now. Moreover, judging from Gu Wuqing's talent and strength, she would only surpass him in the future. When that time came, Gu Wuqing would not need him anymore. I'm old friends with the ancient immortal, so there's no need for me to repay him. Chu Kuangren hesitated for a moment before he said, I'm very sorry about the ancient immortal's death. If you need any help, you can come to me. I'll do my best. Jingguan looked at Chu Kuangren in surprise. From what he knew, Chu Kuangren was not someone who gave promises easily. It seemed that this ancient immortal was of great significance to him. In fact, the ancient immortal was not of great significance to Chu Kuangren, but to Firmament Star. It was because of him that came to Firmament Star and spread the Tao of cultivation that the Firmament Star's cultivation civilization developed rapidly in the early stages. Based on that alone, Chu Kuangren did not mind making a promise. If possible, he would also investigate the ancient immortal's death. Gu Wuqing was a little touched when he heard that. After the Gu family was in trouble, those who were on good terms with the Gu family avoided them. No one was willing to help. However, he did not expect to meet Chu Kuangren in this unfamiliar green orchid immortal world. Chu Kuangren was 100 times better than those who were on good terms with the Gu family. Chapter 965. Brother Chu, if you're free in the future, please come to the 100 Academy and I'll welcome you with open arms. Gu Lufang smiled at Chu Kuangren. As long as he was not stupid, he knew he had to befriend such a peerless immortal seed. Even if he did not befriend him, he would try his best not to offend him. The 100 Academy? I'll remember that. Chu Kuangren nodded slightly. Rumor had it that the 100 Academy had a long history of inheritance. The Academy had all kinds of cultivation scriptures and ancient secrets. If he had the time, he would visit it. After all, he wanted to create his own origin and walk a path that no one had ever walked before. Not only did this path require determination, but it also required a deep knowledge base. The 100 Academy was a good place to learn. After bidding farewell to the two, Chu Kuangren left. Gu Wuqing, who stayed behind, looked at Gu Lufang and said, "Brother, are you from the 100 Academy?" "Yes, I am Gu Lufang from the 100 Academy." Gu Wuqing's eyes lit up. Rumor has it that the 100 Academy believes in education without discrimination. I wonder if they accept outsiders? Of course, there are quite a few outsiders in the Academy. Gu Lufang smiled. Then how do I join the Academy? Gu Wuqing wanted to avenge the Gu family. First, he had to survive in the green orchid immortal realm. Outsiders were not welcome here, so he had to find a strong force to rely on. The 100 Academy was a good choice. "Brother, please follow me back. I'll introduce you." "Thank you." Chu Kuangren and the others left the ancient orthodoxy ruins. Then, they came to an empty mountain range and Chu Kuangren asked Lan Yu about the winged human lady's inheritance. That lady is the strongest of the winged human tribe in the immortal realm. She died in the previous era, but she used some technique to preserve her immortal physique and immortal consciousness. She stayed here to wait for the inheritance. This inheritance belongs to the winged human tribe, Lan Yu explained slowly. Chu Kuangren was also using the spirit of omniscience to analyze her condition. Lan Yu originally possessed the holy radiant physique, but now, it had evolved into a physique called the Radiant Combat Immortal Physique. It was created for Lan Yu by the supreme expert of the winged human tribe using his own immortal physique and immortal consciousness. It was the most powerful immortal physique of the winged human tribe. It's not disappearing, but transforming. In other words, a Taoist body can become an immortal body. Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up. If the holy radiant body could do it, then what about the other physiques? Could his Tao bodies such as the exquisite 9 orifices sword heart, chaotic body, and heavenly yellow celestial sovereign body evolve into an immortal body? Chu Kuangren had a flash of inspiration. Lan Yu's peerless immortal body was formed by the winged human paragon's body and immortal consciousness. He did not have that kind of opportunity. However, he had the Book of Constitution. He could analyze Lan Yu's radiant combat immortal physique and study the process of her Tao physique evolving into an immortal physique. From there, he could upgrade his other physiques to immortal physiques. Upgrading my physiques. Perhaps this will be the next breakthrough for me to study the Book of Constitution. Chu Kuangren smirked and thought to himself. This time, Lan Yu had obtained the inheritance of the winged human paragon and obtained a great opportunity. Through this, Chu Kuangren had also gained some inspiration. In his opinion, this inspiration was no less than Lan Yu's. Lan Yu, you've just obtained this immortal physique, so you need some time to get used to it. I also need to refine the divine flame tinder of the flaming divine brilliance, so I'll go into closed-door meditation for a few days. Jingguan, please protect us. Chu Kuangren said to Jingguan. Jingguan nodded. Of course. While Chu Kuangren and Lan Yu were in closed-door meditation for a few days. However, the outside world was not peaceful either. The battle at the ancient orthodoxy's ruins had spread Chu Kuangren's name throughout the immortal ancient battlefield. Everyone now knew about him. He was in the limelight for a period of time. The other celestial seed kings were completely overshadowed by him. A month after that battle, another great disturbance occurred in the immortal ancient battlefield. This disturbance originated from the depths of the immortal ancient battlefield. This time, those who came to the immortal ancient battlefield weren't just immortal seeds, even immortals came to explore. They were active in the core region of the immortal ancient battlefield, fighting against the most powerful vengeful spirits. That was a place where immortal seeds found it hard to approach. On this very day, shocking news spread out from the depths of the immortal ancient battlefield. The legendary immortal Ascension Pond had appeared. For a time, the whole immortal ancient battlefield was shaken. The immortal Ascension Pool. Legend has it that the water of the pool can cleanse one's body and purify one's immortal body. If someone who hasn't become an immortal enters the pool, it will increase their chances of becoming an immortal. For a celestial seed, this celestial ascension pool cannot be missed. That's right. Now that the vengeful spirits in the core region of the immortal ancient battlefield have been more or less cleared out by the immortals, I must go take a look at this immortal ascension pool. Even if it's just for a cup of bathwater, it's fine. Countless immortal seeds were eager to give it a try. The immortal ascension pond was extremely tempting to them. Somewhere in the immortal ancient battlefield. Inside a cave. Chu Kuangren sat cross-legged with 3 blood-red resentful Buddhas placed in front of him. Traces of resentment surrounded his body. After a while, Chu Kuangren suddenly opened his eyes. Close. He channeled his thoughts and manipulated the 3 resentful Buddhas to collide with each other. Accompanied by a flash of blood-red Buddhist light, the 3 blood-red Buddha statues merged and turned into a Buddha statue with 3 heads and 6 arms. This Buddha statue was blood-red in color and was the size of 2 palms. It had 3 heads and 6 arms, and each head had a different expression. One was glaring at him with a ferocious expression. One was lowering its head and bemoaning the state of the universe. One had its eyes wide open and its face filled with fear. They were respectively anger, pity, and fear. The resentful Buddha hovered in midair and emitted a blood-red Buddhist light. Its terrifying energy waves were like a tidal wave that spread out wave after wave. What an impressive 3-headed 6-armed resentful Buddha statue. It's quite a powerful one. Chu Kuangren looked at the resentful Buddha before him with a strange expression. He opened his palm and a surge of blood-red energy circulated within it. That energy resonated with the resentful Buddha statue and formed a resonance. Through this resentful Buddha statue, I've gained control of another resentful Qi origin. That's the 14th origin. Chu Kuangren smiled. His closed-door meditation did not last long. However, he had gained quite a lot. He had completely devoured the 4 divine flames kindling seeds, but he did not gain any new origin energy from them. Instead, his Phoenix Flame's power had increased significantly. What was worth mentioning was this resentful Buddha statue. Chu Kuangren had gained insights from this resentful Buddha statue. Apart from that, after he refined it, the 3 resentful Buddhas merged into one, forming a complete 3-headed 6-armed resentful Buddha statue, which was the sinister Buddha sect's most valuable treasure. With this immortal weapon, I've gained another trump card. Heh, let's do a lucky draw. Chu Kuangren murmured and opened the fantasy roulette. Congratulations, host, you've obtained the deity tier prize, the transcendent lotus seed. His eyes lit up. He opened the inventory and looked at the 10,000 transcendent lotus seeds introduction. The transcendent lotus was a celestial plant. Moreover, it was no ordinary celestial plant. It was a godly lotus that could evolve immortal techniques based on its origin. With 1 petal, it was considered a first-grade immortal technique. With 2 petals, it was considered a second-grade immortal technique. This godly lotus could reach the 12th grade. In theory, it could evolve up to 12 immortal techniques. However, this depended on the individual's ability. If the cultivator who nourished the godly lotus was not strong enough, The 12th grade immortal technique might not even evolve to 2 or 3 immortal techniques. It was a celestial plant whose effects depended on the cultivator's level. Chapter 966. Extract. Chu Kuangren extracted the godly lotus seed, and in an instant, a shiny golden lotus seed that was densely covered with mysterious Taoist patterns appeared within his body. An item that can help one manifest immortal techniques? Not bad. Chu Kuangren smiled in satisfaction. His own divine enlightenment wine had not been refined yet. He originally thought that the matter of evolving the immortal method would take a while, but now that he had this 10,000 law divine lotus seed, this matter could already be put on the agenda. He created his own celestial art and grasped the seal of law verification. This was the thought that Chu Kuangren had even before he entered the immortal realm. This was one of his 2 main directions of cultivation, as well as comprehending as much of the origin as possible before he created his own origin. The power of origin, the seal of proof, these were all things that could help him increase his strength. The transcendent lotus seed has been planted in my body. All that's left is to collect the water and wood essences to water it, Chu Kuangren murmured. If the 10,000 law divine lotus wanted to grow, it was far from enough to just rely on Emperor Qi to nourish it. It also needed a large amount of water and wood essence. Just like how flowers and plants needed water. In essence, there was not much difference between immortal plants and flowers. Lan Yu should have gotten used to it by now, so it's about time for me to come out of my closed-door meditation. I'll analyze her radiant battle immortal physique and find a way to upgrade her Taoist physique, Chu Kuangren thought to himself. He went out of the cave. Outside the cave, the sky was still overcast like before. This immortal ancient battlefield was surrounded by resentment, so what kind of good weather could there be? He shook his head. I'll stay here for a while longer. If there's nothing worth fighting for, I'll leave. Outside the cave, Lan Yu had already come out of seclusion before him. She stood under the tree, tall and slender. She still wore the silver-white armor, and her silver-white hair casually draped over her shoulders. Her facial features were exquisite, and her blue eyes were like the ocean, clean and lively. His temperament was valiant and cold. She was like an awe-inspiring and inviolable Valkyrie. Young master, you're out of seclusion. When Lan Yu noticed Chu Kuangren, she turned around and smiled. Ripples appeared in her sky-blue eyes, filled with boundless tenderness. How's your immortal war physique? Chu Kuangren asked. I've gotten more or less used to it, and my cultivation base has broken through to the Tao Lord level. I've also gained control over the essence of light. Light is my Tao. Battle is my duty. The light battle source is the most suitable source for me. Lan Yu smiled faintly. Young master, congratulations on coming out of seclusion. Looking at your appearance, you seem to have gained something again. Jian Guan walked over and smiled. It's all right. Chu Kuangren asked, has anything happened recently? Before Jianguan could say anything, Little Fox jumped up and said, Boss, a few days ago, Immortal Ascension Pond appeared in the immortal ancient battlefield. Many people went there. Let's go join in the fun. Oh, the Immortal Ascension Pool? Chu Kuangren's interest was piqued. Right, this is a treasured land that has obtained the fortune of heaven and earth. It is extremely beneficial for immortal seeds. Jianguan said. Since that's the case, let's go take a look. Chu Kuangren did not reject either. Soon, they set off for the Celestial Ascension Pool. Far outside the Celestial Ascension Pool, many celestial seeds were still fighting for a place to enter the Celestial Ascension Pool. They didn't know what kind of existence they would meet. On a mountain peak in the depths of the immortal ancient battlefield. In the immortal ancient battlefield that was filled with resentment chi, this mountain peak was particularly special. This was because the place was filled with an immortal light that prevented the surrounding resentment chi from approaching. This made this place seem out of place in the immortal ancient battlefield. On the mountain peak, there was a lake that covered a radius of 10 kilometers. The lake was filled with mist and immortal light. It was the celestial ascension pool that countless celestial seeds yearned for. The water in the celestial ascension pool was condensed from extremely pure spiritual chi. A single drop of water was equivalent to millions of spiritual marrows. The value of this 10 kilometers of water was inestimable. However, the more valuable thing was the immortal light that lingered in the lake. This immortal light intertwined with the pool water and formed a mysterious power. It was this immortal light that allowed the pool water to cleanse one's body and cleanse one's marrows. This was enough to allow the celestial seeds to walk the path of immortality more smoothly. Outside the celestial ascension pool, countless restrictions were set up by the immortals who entered the depths of the immortal ancient battlefield. The purpose was to prevent others from peeking into the celestial ascension pool. The immortals had already discussed this. Only immortal seeds from immortal orthodoxies had the right to enter the celestial ascension pool for baptism. However, to prevent others from gossiping, the immortals decided to give 10 spots to immortal seeds from other orthodoxies. As for who those 10 would be, that would depend on their strength. Outside the celestial ascension pool, a large number of immortal seeds were fighting. They were all fighting over 10 tokens. These represented the number of spots to enter the celestial ascension pool. The medallion changed hands a few times in the hands of the celestial seeds. One celestial seed managed to snatch the medallion, but in the next instant, it was snatched by the others. What a rare sight! In the sky, an immortal seed looked at the chaotic scene below and chuckled. This was a seed from the holy city. He looked at the immortal seeds fighting for tokens with disdain. The other immortal seeds from the other orthodoxies had similar expressions. Compared to the immortal seeds fighting for tokens, they were much better off. They'd already been selected from the start. This was the best example of having a big tree to rely on for shade. Who do you think will take the 10 spots? I don't know. It doesn't matter who gets them. Ignore them. Let's draw lots to decide who will enter the celestial ascension pool first. A man in a golden robe said faintly. This man was tall and had a dignified expression. He stood there like a king, making others want to bow down to him. This was one of the 12 immortal seed kings, the crown prince of the Diwan dynasty. Yunwu. The drawing lots he spoke of was the rule for entering the celestial ascension pool. The celestial ascension pool had enormous energy, enough to support the baptism of all the immortal seeds here. But during the baptism, the immortal seeds had to be completely focused. To prevent anyone from disturbing them or causing any accidents, the immortals decided to draw lots to decide the order. One orthodoxy at a time would enter the celestial ascension pool. Then let's begin. A beautiful woman in a white dress said. This woman was also one of the 12 immortal seed kings. There were 14 orbs of light before everyone, representing the 14 orthodoxies that came to the celestial battlefield. From 1 to 14, arrange them according to the numbers. The one who draws 1 can enter first, Yunwu said. Then he began to draw lots. Look! All of a sudden, the immortal seeds around them exclaimed. The immortal seeds that were fighting for the spots to enter the celestial ascension pool suddenly stopped and looked into the distance in fear. They could feel an aura that was so strong that it was difficult for them to reach was approaching. At the end of their line of sight, a peerless white-robed figure was slowly walking towards them. Behind him were 3 people, 2 women and an old man with white hair. It was Chu Kuangren and the others. Chu Kuangren did not restrain his aura. Instead, he unleashed his domineering aura to shock all the immortal seeds present. He looked at the celestial ascension pool and smiled. This celestial ascension pool is really tempting to attract so many people. It's him, Chu Kuangren. Is he the monster that killed the immortal seed kings? So he's here too. The crowd discussed among themselves as they looked at Chu Kuangren with fear in their eyes. Meanwhile, the immortal seeds in the sky were also looking at Chu Kuangren curiously. One of the immortal seeds said coldly, Chu Kuangren, even you have to follow the rules if you want to enter the celestial ascension pool. You must compete with others for the spots to enter. Chu Kuangren looked at the immortal seeds around him and saw the tokens in their hands. He immediately understood what was going on. He sneered and looked at the void above the immortal seeds. Compete? Do I need to compete? Chapter 967. Fight? Do I need to fight? Chu Kuangren stood where he was and looked into the void. He could sense that there were more than 10 extremely powerful auras circulating there. They were auras that far surpassed the false immortal realm. They were immortals. As soon as Chu Kuangren finished speaking, an extremely powerful immortal core fluctuation suddenly erupted from Jingguan's body. A shocking sword intent rose from the ground and pierced through the clouds. Didn't you hear my master's question? Jingguan said. The crowd could not help but gulp at that. Master? That guy was Chu Kuangren's follower. F***ck me. Such a terrifying aura. It was an immortal. Chu Kuangren had an immortal as his follower. What kind of terrifying background was that? Who told me he's just an outsider with no background? An immortal as his follower? No background? You must be kidding me. An immortal as his follower? Oh my god. The immortal seeds were not the only ones who were shocked. The ones who were more shocked were the immortals who were hiding in the void. They looked at Jingguan in disbelief, wondering if they were hallucinating or dreaming. Otherwise, how could such a thing happen? Jingguan, the peerless sword immortal who dominated an era, was a follower of an outsider immortal seed? Was he messing with them? What the hell is going on? One of the immortals asked in confusion, but no one could answer him because everyone else was just as shocked and confused. Chu Kuangren, you don't have to compete with others for a spot, but to enter the Celestial Ascension pool, you'll have to draw lots. An indifferent voice came from the void. The immortals spoke. Obviously, they did not want to have any conflict with Jingguan. The fact that Chu Kuangren could subdue Jingguan had shocked everyone. They dared not stop Chu Kuangren before they had a clear understanding of the situation. Oh, we still have to draw lots? How troublesome. We're all immortal seeds, so let's settle this in the most direct way. Chu Kuangren stood with his hands behind his back and said, I want to be the first to enter. If anyone is unwilling, you can fight me or all of you can come at me together. I don't mind either way. His words caused an uproar. The immortal seeds looked at Chu Kuangren in disbelief. What did he just say? He wants to challenge all the immortal seeds from the immortal orthodoxies? Is he crazy? I can't believe it. How dare he do that? Even if he's Chu Kuangren, no matter how powerful he is, isn't it a little too arrogant for him to challenge all the immortal seeds? The ordinary immortal seeds gasped in shock, but the immortal seeds from the immortal orthodoxies who were challenged by Chu Kuangren were even more shocked and furious. After all, they were the most outstanding immortal seeds in the immortal seeds in. And no immortal heavens. This was especially true for the sage seed sovereigns. They glared at Chu Kuangren furiously. Idu, Jiu, Kuangzhu especially, and A to immortal emperor was as he could he was emperor's the celestial king. He sage to, where the Sugu was to. He took a step forward and a majestic monarch chi poured out like a flood. An extremely strong origin energy erupted and crushed the surrounding space. If you can defeat me, I won't have any objections if you want to be the first to enter the Celestial Ascension pond. The immortals in the void did not say anything. They were all curious to see what Chu Kuangren was capable of. Chu Kuangren beckoned with his finger. Yuanwu made his move. His emperor's chi and origin ripples converged and turned into a golden fist ray. Chu Kuangren stood still. He gently lifted his arm, and his emperor's chi and origin ripples exploded at the same time, shattering the fist ray. Is this all the great primordial god dynasty's crown prince can do? Chu Kuangren did not take a step back. Invincible divine art, sky tremor thunder. Yuanwu let out a low roar. His emperor's chi and Taoist patterns intertwined and turned into rays of blue lightning. He then threw a punch, and a thick lightning pillar that was imbued with origin ripples charged towards Chu Kuangren like a dragon. Honorable Emperor's sword art. The Emperor's chi behind Chu Kuangren surged and turned into a golden Emperor avatar. Then, sword chi intertwined in the Emperor avatar's palm and turned into a golden sword shadow that slashed across the void. The sword shadow and the lightning pillar collided. A deafening explosion was heard. The lightning pillar exploded, but the sword chi was unstoppable. It slashed towards Yunwu and sent him flying. The power of that attack made everyone's pupils dilate. He defeated a celestial seed king with a single sword attack? This person's combat strength is no weaker than what the rumors say. In fact, he's even stronger. Chu Kuangren stood with his hands behind his back. He looked at the kings from the various immortal orthodoxies and said, "I've said that I'll allow all of you to come at me together. Why don't you take advantage of this opportunity?" His words made the celestial seeds' faces turn pale. "Let's go. I don't believe that he can defeat all of us by himself." These celestial seeds came from different immortal orthodoxies. Initially, they had a hostile relationship with each other. However, because of Chu Kuangren, they had become united against a common enemy. It was undeniable that Chu Kuangren had accomplished a great feat: myriad gale finger, infallible sword slash, flame dragon's raging roar. All sorts of powerful immortal technique fluctuations erupted. The immortal technique lights were incredibly dazzling as they continuously bloomed in the void. Meanwhile, Chu Kuangren, who was in the center of the immortal technique attacks, remained as still as a mountain. He stood with his hands behind his back, and as he stood tall and straight, only purple lotuses bloomed around him. They then transformed into 1,000 lotus sword chi that blocked all the immortal technique attacks. Boom, boom, boom. Accompanied by a series of deafening explosions, the entire ground shook as cracks spread in all directions. Smoke and dust billowed, covering the sky. Everyone stared at the smoke and dust. There were remnants of violent immortal technique fluctuations there. Everyone felt that none of the celestial seeds could survive such a terrifying immortal technique attack. Did he succeed? Has this guy been defeated? Among the crowd, there were a few celestial seeds who did not make a move, including Gu Wuqing and Gu Lufeng. They looked at the smoke and dust with a smirk. Gu Lufeng chuckled and said, "That person won't be defeated so easily." While everyone held their breaths, a wave of Emperor's chi swept across the sky, dispersing the smoke and dust. Then, a peerless white-robed figure appeared. Chu Kuangren stood proudly with a condescending gaze. He looked at the crowd and said, "Now, it's your turn to take a move from me." As soon as he said that, the surrounding spiritual chi and wind stopped moving. It was as if the heavens and earth were holding their breath at that moment. Before Chu Kuangren even unleashed his technique, the crowd already felt an unprecedented pressure that made it difficult for them to breathe. With a single thought, "The heavens and earth shall perish." His indifferent words reverberated throughout the sky. Then, circles of purplish-red light ripples spread towards the crowd. Those who were hit by the light ripples were sent flying while vomiting blood. Even the celestial seed kings could not help but turn pale. In just 2 short breaths, the celestial seeds were lying on the ground, wailing in pain. Between the heavens and earth, only a white-robed figure stood proudly like a king looking down on the world. Chapter 968. Shocking, shocking. An unparalleled shock struck the hearts of everyone present. He had defeated all the immortal seeds with one move. That kind of strength stunned the other immortal seeds who did not participate in the battle. They stared at the proud white-robed figure in awe. Chu Kuangren retracted his emperor's chi and looked at the immortal seeds before him. "I'll go in first. Now, who else has any objections?" The immortal seeds lowered their heads wherever he looked. So many immortal seeds were defeated by a single person and suppressed to the point where they couldn't even raise their heads. How could they have the face to say no? He has done his best as an immortal seed. Gu Wuqing looked at Chu Kuangren with admiration and even yearning. Yes, no immortal seed can be like him. He has defeated a group of immortal seed rulers before even stepping foot on the immortal ascension path. Gu Lufeng could not help but exclaim. Has he really not stepped foot on the immortal ascension path? But how can his combat strength be so strong? Gu Wuqing asked doubtfully. I'm afraid this is an anomaly. Gu Lufeng murmured. Waves of powerful immortal energy erupted in the void. Evidently, these immortals were shocked by Chu Kuangren's combat strength. They could not even control their own immortal energy fluctuations. With such combat strength, has he really not stepped foot on the immortal ascension path? Even the oldest immortal orthodoxies might not be able to find such a powerful immortal seed, let alone an outsider. What kind of background does he have? Chu Kuangren sensed the immortal energy fluctuations and looked into the void. He said, What's wrong, immortals? Do you have any objections? Hearing this, Jian Guan also took a step forward, and the sword will fill the air. Sure. After a moment of silence, the immortals allowed Chu Kuangren to enter first. After all, the immortal ascension pool had a massive amount of energy, enough to support the baptism of all the immortal seeds. Let's go. Chu Kuangren said to Lan Yu and the others behind him. Immediately, they entered the immortal ascension pool. Looking at their backs, the immortal seeds had complicated looks in their eyes, and they felt an indescribable sense of defeat. ***. Yuan Wu punched the ground with a face full of indignation. As a ruler of celestial seeds, he was proud, but today, his pride was completely crushed by Chu Kuangren. Not only him, but the others felt the same way too. Are we going to let him in just like that? The immortals were conversing in the void. Let's investigate this person's background first. Why would Sword Crown follow this person? An immortal said. Before figuring this out, they didn't dare to act rashly for fear of provoking some formidable power. Although they were immortal orthodoxies, they were not completely invincible. There were many who could threaten them. For example, the Divine Beast clan, the immortal ancient Taoist orthodoxy, and so on. All right. Then we'll take advantage of the time he's in the immortal ascension pool to investigate this person's background, then we'll take action. The 14 immortal orthodoxies present were moving together. The amount of information they could mobilize was unimaginably vast, practically covering the entire Azure Orchid immortal world. It could be said that no one could hide from such a search. Meanwhile, in the celestial ascension pool, Chu Kuangren stared at the 10-kilometer-wide lake in front of him with a hint of surprise in his eyes. So this is the immortal ascension pond. It really is extraordinary. Little Fox and Lan Yu were also filled with anticipation. The little fox reverted to her true form and jumped into the immortal ascension pond with a plop. She started swimming there. It's so comfortable. Boss, come down and let's bathe together. Little Fox said. Beside her, Jinguan smiled and said, Master, this immortal ascension pond isn't that useful to me. I'll stay here and protect you. As he said that, he walked a distance away. Green lotuses bloomed in the void, forming layers of restrictions that isolated the 10-kilometer-wide immortal ascension pond. After Jinguan left, Lan Yu looked at Chu Kuangren. Master, let me help you change your clothes. Chu Kuangren nodded and did not refuse. All right. Lan Yu walked up and helped Chu Kuangren take off his clothes. Looking at his flawless white jade-like body, Lan Yu could not help but blush. Master, your skin is so good. It's so fair and smooth. Cough cough, is that a compliment? Chu Kuangren could not help but cough twice. Fair and smooth? Why did it feel so weird to use that to describe him? After Chu Kuangren took off his clothes, he walked into the immortal ascension pond. In an instant, the surrounding immortal light soaked his body. He could feel surges of unique immortal ascension pond energy entering his body through his pores. It cleansed his body of impurities, opened up his meridians, and purified his emperor's qi. Meridian cleansing. Chu Kuangren murmured. It was not his first time experiencing this, but the immortal ascension pond's effects were more obvious. Just as he was experiencing the wonders of the immortal ascension pond, he suddenly felt the transcendent lotus seed in his body tremble. There was a hint of desire in it. The movement of the transcendent lotus seed caught Chu Kuangren's attention. To nourish this transcendent lotus seed, I'll need a large amount of water and wood essence. Can this immortal ascension pond be used to irrigate the transcendent lotus seed? Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up. Just as he was guessing, he heard the sound of water beside him. He looked over and saw an infinitely beautiful, white body entering the immortal ascension pond and walking towards him. Chu Kuangren was stunned. Lan Yu? Master, let me massage your shoulders. Lan Yu walked behind Chu Kuangren and said. She did not mind her naked body at all. To her, her entire body belonged to Chu Kuangren. Letting him see her naked body was nothing to her. Chu Kuangren recovered from his shock after a while. All right. He could feel Lan Yu's soft hands massaging his shoulders. From time to time, he could also feel a pair of soft breasts pressing against his back. Lan Yu's body is quite nice after all. Chu Kuangren thought to himself. Boss, I'll help you too. The little fox swam over. Unknowingly, she had already transformed into her human form. Her face was flushed red, and she looked very cute. She came up to massage Chu Kuangren's back and legs. However, how could a fox's hands be so nimble? Chu Kuangren activated his mind power and immediately flung the fox away. You're so clumsy. I think you should just stand aside and watch your back. With a splash, water splashed everywhere. The little fox emerged from the water and looked at her tiny arms and legs. She could not help but pout. As expected, boss, you're still interested in those who are more mature. I've got to grow up faster. However, as a divine beast, the Moonlight Fox had a long lifespan. She was only in the growth stage now, and no one knew when she would reach maturity. Chu Kuangren was enjoying Lan Yu's service. Just like that, 3 days passed. Chu Kuangren felt that the immortal ascension pond's baptism was almost done. Lan Yu and the little fox's physique had also improved greatly. Logically speaking, they should leave now and let the other orthodoxies in. However, Chu Kuangren did not leave. He even stayed in the immortal ascension pond and did not come up. Master, do you have any plans? Lan Yu asked curiously. Yes, I do have a plan, but I'm afraid that the other orthodoxies will kill me. But why should I be afraid? He chuckled. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.